Hey guys. This is part 5 of What If Naruto was Madara's grandson. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start. Chapter 28 Reunion. Hey there, Ba-chan, grandmother, Naruto said with a small smile as he was watching Tsunade and another girl who was with her. He had finally found the last bit of family he had. Although his grandmother was supposed to be around 60 years old, she didn't look older than 30, and it was no lie when they said that Senju Tsunade was one of the most beautiful women on earth. Tsunade was just staring at the blonde in front of her that had just decimated the field where they were standing. The moment he turned, her breath got caught in her throat. The moment she saw what he looked like, that golden blonde hair, those deep blue eyes like an ocean, and when Jiraiya called him Naruto, she started shaking. He's a carbon copy of Minato with longer hair, Tsunade was thinking. After all this time she thought she was alone in this world, that her family was all gone, and now she finds her grandson not even 10 feet in front of her smiling at her. Tsunade didn't know what to think or do and did the only thing she felt was right. She blurred right past Jiraiya and Shizen and engulfed Naruto in a deep hug while crying in happiness. "And Naruto-kun," Swanda whispered while hugging him fiercely as if he wasn't real. Tears were rolling off her eyes and falling to his shirt. "Baba-chan," Naruto replied while sobbing and hugging her back. He had finally found family, and he was happy that Tsunade didn't reject him or leave him if her reaction was anything to measure by. Jiraiya and Shizen watched the scene with smiles on their faces. This was what Tsunade needed. She needed a small bit of her family back, and she got it in the form of her long-thought-dead grandson. They ended the hug and Tsunade cleaned her tears while her eyes were still red. She crouched in front of him. "Let me take a good look at you," Tsunade said. Her voice, filled with so much happiness, was intoxicating. Naruto just chuckled and rubbed the back of his head much like his father did. Tsunade was observing Naruto as best as she could. He had long blonde hair with bangs that framed his face and slightly covered his right eye. His eyes were deep blue like an ocean, and he had 3 whiskers marks on each cheek. "You are so cute," Swanda squealed and hugged him again, making the others' sweat drop. "I'd bet you have a horde of fangirls back home," Tsunade said, laughing. She seemed to have forgotten everything that had happened today. She was finally happy and didn't want to let go of this feeling. "Speaking of girls," Naruto said, breaking the hug. "I'll be right back," Naruto, and swirled away into his eyes. Tsunade caught the blood-red Sharingan eyes but filed it for later questions. Naruto reappeared not even a second later with a girl in his arms and a small fox on his shoulders. Hinata had already been healed and was now sleeping peacefully. "Who is she?" Tsunade asked as she watched the girl that Naruto was carrying bridal style. "She is Hyuga Hinata, my girlfriend," Naruto explained, and Tsunade nodded. He figured that a fine-looking brat like him would already been snatched by someone, but she would see if the girl was worthy it. "She was kidnapped by Itachi and Kisame, but I managed to get her back and summon a healing fox," Naruto explained and turned towards Tsunade. "Can you check her just to make sure?" Naruto asked, and Tsunade bit her lips. As long there wasn't blood, she would be fine. Tsunade's hands started glowing green and started scanning Hinata's body from head to toe. She seemed to stop briefly on top of her chest as if assessing the damage. "She had a couple of broken ribs and dislocated shoulder, but she is fine now. She only needs to rest," Tsunade explained, and Naruto sighed in relief. "I owe you Kagura," Naruto said. "Not at all, Naruto-sama," Kagura said and disappeared in smoke. "Look at the mess you made," Jiraiya said to Naruto, and kicking a piece of rubble on the ground. "They kidnapped Hinata-chan, so I tried to kill them for real. I wasn't messing around against them," Naruto said in a serious voice, and Jiraiya could only nod as he watched the devastation in front of him. "What flames are these?" Jiraiya mused out loud, looking intently at the black flames that were burning the rock and showing no signs of stopping. "Those are Amaterasu flames," Naruto said, and Jiraiya looked at him. "They can only be summoned by a Manjiki Sharingan, and can't be extinguished by anyone except the one who summoned them in the first place. They will burn for 7 days and 7 nights. They are hot as the sun and can turn anything to ashes," Naruto explained, and Jiraiya's eyes widened. "That was some powerful katan jutsu right there." "You said a Manjikyu?" Jiraiya asked, and Naruto nodded. "Does that mean you can do it as well?" Jiraiya asked. That would be a major power boost to Naruto if he was able to perform this technique. I know how it works, so I just need to try it, Naruto said, and Jiraiya nodded. And I also know how to the other one, that's Tsukuyomi, Naruto said, and Jiraiya nodded again. Naruto was becoming more and more powerful by the day, and these two techniques he just gained would make him deadly against anyone. So I wasn't seeing things when you warped away with some technique, Tsunade said towards Naruto. How can you have the Sharingan? You are no Uchiha, Tsunade stated. Actually, I have Uchiha blood, Naruto said, and Tsunade raised an eyebrow. What do you know of my father's parents? Naruto asked. He is an orphan, he never knew his parents, Tsunade replied, and Naruto smiled. He never got tired of the people's faces when he told them about his grandfather. That is not true, Naruto said, grinning at her grandmother. He knew very well who his father was and lived with him for the first 5 years of his life, Naruto said, and Tsunade concentrated on him. Don't leave me hanging, tell me, Tsunade said, and Naruto picked the fan from this back and placed it on the ground, grabbing it by the hilt. Is that? Tsunade asked, and her eyes widened when she pieced everything together. My grandfather was Uchiha Madara, Naruto said, and laughed at her expression. She was gapping like a fish out of water, and Shizen was pale as a white sheet. This was his fan and he passed it on to my father, and now it belongs to me, Naruto explained. Bibabud, Tsunade tried to say, but her voice wasn't quite reaching. Madara Uchiha didn't die when he fought Hashirama Uchiha and later on had a son and named him Namikaze Minato, Naruto explained. Who am I to doubt him? Tsunade thought to herself, chuckling. Until now she didn't even know Naruto was alive to begin with. How about we continue this at the hotel? Naruto suggested, and everyone nodded and left towards the hotel that Naruto had rented. Ero Senin, Naruto said, and got a tick mark from the old pervert and laughs from both women. I should warn you about the hotel, Naruto cryptically said. Back at the hotel itself was, mostly, fine if you don't count the chunk that was missing on the right side of the building. When Naruto entered his cloaked version and sped towards Itachi and Kisame, he unleashed a shockwave that tore down almost half the building. I hate Shinobi, the owner of the hotel was yelling through the streets while trying to clean up as best as he could. Not that a broom would help much against big chunks of rock and concrete. The owner turned around only to find the one responsible for said disaster calmly walking towards him. You, the owner yelled towards the blonde, pointing at him. Look at this mess, the owner yelled. Don't worry, Naruto said, trying to calm the owner down. My godfather here will gladly pay for everything, Naruto said, and Jiraiya's eyes widened. What? Jiraiya yelled out, grabbing Naruto by the collar of his shirt. Why should I pay? Jiraiya asked rhetorically. You were the one that blew up the hotel, Jiraiya explained. They found me and hurt Hinata because you decided to chase some tail, Naruto explained, and Jiraiya scoffed. Besides, I've seen your money book and this won't even scratch the surface, Naruto said, and Jiraiya got suspicious. How do you know that? Jiraiya asked. Always look underneath the underneath. Besides, my eyes see more than chakra, you know, Naruto said, grinning. So pay the man and let's find another place so Hinata-chan can rest properly, Naruto said, and Jiraiya reluctantly agreed. He went to his pockets only to find his wallet missing and in the hands of Tsunade, who was already negotiating with the hotel owner, making Jiraiya cry anime tears. Life is so unfair, Jiraiya thought, crying in his mind. Suddenly Naruto felt Hinata stir and looked down at her. It appeared all that noise around them woke up his sleeping beauty. She tiredly opened her eyes to find herself in the arms of Naruto. Hey there, sleepyhead, Naruto said, watching Hinata open her eyes and look at him. How are you feeling? Naruto asked. I'm good, Hinata said, and watched her surroundings. I think I can walk, Hinata said, and Naruto shook his head, denying. You just woke up, besides I like carrying you, Naruto said, and kissed her forehead, making her snuggle closer to him. Kawaii, Shizen yelled out. That's adorable, Shizen said, fawning over both of them like a fangirl. Jiraiya was scribbling furiously on his notebook, not even noticing Tsunade. If you use my grandson for your research, I'll remove the thing that makes you a man, Tsunade shouted to the heavens, and Jiraiya stiffened and quickly placed his notebook on his pockets. Have mercy, Jiraiya pleaded on his knees. Sorry, all out of mercy, Tsunade said, cracking her fingers and figuratively rolling up her sleeves. Scary, Naruto thought, watching his grandmother beat his godfather to a bloody pulp. Jiraiya was screaming and asking for her to stop, but she didn't even waver. Oh Lord, the pain! Jiraiya thought. Naruto decided it was time to save his godfather from Tsunade's wrath. How about we go for dinner? Naruto asked, and Jiraiya sighed in relief when the onslaught stopped. Sounds good, Tsunade replied and kicked Jiraiya one last time where the sun doesn't shine, making wince in pain and gently nurse his manly parts. All the time he was cursing the blondes around him. The group found a small restaurant that had a few tables open since the others were all full due to the massive amount of tourists around town. They were all seated in a small table with Shizen, Tsunade and Jiraiya in one side and Naruto and Hinata in the other. The menu was a few sardines with rice while Tsunade and Jiraiya were drinking sake. So Brat, how is the life? Tswanda asked while sipping a bit of sake. She wanted to know about her grandson's life since she wasn't there for the beginning of his life. It was rough in my early years, but I'm good now, Naruto said, and Tsunade raised an eyebrow. Rough? Tsunade wondered what he meant exactly. Actually, since the Chunin exams they stopped calling me demon and trying to kill. Naruto blurted out, only for Tsunade's face to twist into one of anger. She forgot that Naruto was a Jinchuriki, and she knew very well how most of them were treated in their village. Did they hurt you? Tsunade asked with so much fire in her eyes that the table slightly cracked from the pressure of her fists. Don't worry, they are over it now, Naruto said, calming her down. I showed them I had the Sharingan and that I belonged to the Senju clan, and now they almost worship me, Naruto said, shaking his head. How could they be so superficial? Naruto was a demon one day and the next he was the prince of Konoha. But I hold no grudge against them, Naruto said. You do realize that once you make Chunin you will be able to take the clan seat and will be forced into CRA, right? Tsunade asked. The CRA was the thing that drove her out of the village in the first place, and when Kushina died she nothing to go back for. I'm an elite Chunin, by the way, and I have already refused the CRA, Naruto said, chuckling. Elite Chunin? A brat like you? Where's the vest? Tsunade taunted him. I don't like wearing the vest, and didn't you see what I did to those Akatsuki members? They were both Kage level shinobi, Naruto explained, grinning back. Oh please, that was all the Kyuubi's doing, Tsunade said, waving him off. I like her, Kurama said from Naruto's mind. You like anyone that praises you, Naruto replied, sweat dropping. Fine, be that way, Naruto said, pouting, and everyone laughed. How did you refuse the CRA? Tsunade asked. It's mandatory by law, Tsunade explained. Simple. I threatened to leave the village if they forced me into it, Naruto said, grinning, and Tsunade chuckled. By the way, Jiraiya, why are you here? Tsunade asked, and Jiraiya sighed as it might be a difficult conversation. Sensei has asked us to find you and tell you that you've been chosen for Godame Hokage, Jiraiya asked, and Tsunade sighed. The moment Jiraiya said Sensei wanted her to become Hokage, she remembered what happened with Orochimaru. She agreed to meet with them in 1 week, and if she cured her arms he would destroy Konoha. I'm going back to the village, but it isn't to be Hokage, Tsunade replied, and Jiraiya raised an eyebrow in confusion. Sensei sent me a letter saying Naruto was dead the night the Kyuubi attacked, Tsunade explained. What? Naruto asked. That doesn't make any sense. He was the one that told me of you in the first place, Naruto explained. Something is off here, Jiraiya said. What did the letter look like? Jiraiya asked. Normal Kage letter with his signature and stamp, Tsunade explained. The letter was long gone, and she destroyed it the moment she read it. There isn't anyone else for the Hokage position, Jiraiya reasoned. How about you? Tsunade asked. My spy network is too important for the village. Besides, I'm not the type of man to be behind a desk 8 hours a day, Jiraiya replied. I'm not becoming Hokage. It's a fool's job, Tsunade said, and Naruto subconsciously activated his Sharingan and started glaring at Tsunade. How dare you say that? Naruto asked. Hashiramajiji, Tobaramajiji, my father, all of our family took the Hokage position and died defending the village they love, Naruto was explaining. Exactly, they all died for nothing, Tsunade said. They died protecting the village they loved, and we should continue their legacy and protect the village they created, Naruto said, but Tsunade seemed reluctant to agree until a devious thought crossed Naruto's mind. How about a bet? Naruto asked, and Jiraiya smirked. What kind of bet? Tsunade asked, focused on Naruto. You and me outside. If I kick your ass, you return to the village and become Hokage, Naruto said, and Tsunade pondered. He's just a genin, Tsunade thought. I agree, but if you lose I'll get all of your money and no Kyuubi, Tsunade said. I agree, Naruto replied. Let's take it outside then, Tsunade said, and they all walked outside to the middle of the street. This was all going so well, Hinata said, sighing, and both Jiraiya and Shizen agreed. Outside on the outside, Naruto and Tsunade were facing each other while Jiraiya, Shizen, and Hinata were at the side watching. Last time to back out, Tsunade said, giving him a chance. I never give up and I never surrender because, to be Hokage is my dream, Naruto said with unbreakable fire behind his eyes. Sharingan eyes for that matter. Tsunade smirked, and she swore she saw a visage of Nawaki behind Naruto. Do as you wish. If you win I'll throw in this necklace as well. Tsunade and Shizen's jaw dropped as well. Jiraiya's. Hashirama's necklace, Naruto mused. Let's go then, Naruto said as he took his stance. Tsunade, I should warn you, Jiraiya was saying but was cut off. Please Jiraiya, I can take care of a genin, Tsunade said, smirking. Even if he is an elite chunin I still got him, Tsunade said. Even though she didn't say it, she wanted Naruto to win, but she wasn't going to make things easy. It's ironic, Hinata said, and got confused faces from everyone. The descendants of Hashirama and Madara are facing each other again, Hinata said, and they chuckled. Very true, Jiraiya replied, and all of them focused on the fight. Tsunade didn't have any stance, she was just standing there with her arms on her waist. Naruto was eyeing her carefully with his Sharingan blazing. Deciding to try and scare her off a little, he made his Sharingan start spinning very slowly. Tsunade watched carefully his spinning, constantly checking for chakra anomalies in her chakra network to look out for genjutsu. Naruto started speeding off his Sharingan until it started mutating slightly. Eventually the Sharingan started to slow down and the normal pattern was long gone, and replaced by deep black eyes with a broken red circle with 3 circles in them. A Manjikyu? Tsunade wondered in thought as she watched Naruto's eyes very carefully. She dropped the carefree attitude and took a basic stance. She may never have faced an Uchiha with a Manjikyu, but her father had warned about the powers those eyes had and that they weren't to be taken lightly. Tsukuyami, Naruto said, and Tsunade's eyes widened just before her world disappeared and was replaced by Naruto's Tsukuyami world. What is this? Tsunade asked as she walked around Naruto's world. Welcome to my strongest genjutsu, Naruto said, popping out of nowhere and standing in front of Tsunade. In here I'm God and I control everything, even time itself. 3 days here are but 3 seconds on the real world, Naruto explained, and Tsunade realized in just what mess she was. This is the second time I tried this jutsu and my control still sucks, but it should be enough to hold you, Naruto said, and Tsunade got pinned to a cross and Naruto stood there in front of her with a sword. What are you going to do? Tsunade asked. She didn't want to believe Naruto would torture her. I'm going to make you laugh to death, Naruto said, chuckling evilly, and the sword was replaced by a feather. Naruto started using his feather on Tsunade's sensitive spots. Tsunade bit her lips and tried to hold it, but she couldn't. Tsunade bursted out laughing and crying as she couldn't hold the tears. Ha 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 ha, Tsunade broke out laughing and crying, she could barely breathe. She wanted to bend over since her stomach hurt, but she couldn't as she was pinned to the stake. Muhhh, Naruto laughed evilly at the sight of Tsunade. A/N. Check out Barney's evil laugh to get an idea. www. YouTube watch, V equals CFG7SRXS, real world. 3 seconds later on the outside, all of the viewers were oblivious to what was happening. They all heard Naruto call out his genjutsu, but they didn't know if Tsunade was caught as they were just staring at each other. Suddenly Tsunade fell to her knees, breathing heavily with her eyes puffy red, and one could see dried tears in her face. Damn brat, Tsunade said back in the real world as she crouched to regain her breathing. Naruto just grinned back at her. It was just by miracle that Tsunade didn't pass out. What did he do? Jiraiya asked, curious. He made me laugh for 72 hours straight, Tsunade said, and everyone's sweat dropped. That was a peculiar use for a genjutsu. I'll get you for that, Tsunade said before she started dashing towards Naruto with her fist cocked. She's using chakra in her fist, Naruto thought as he watched her approaching with his EMS activated. He brought his fan from his back and placed it in front of him. He grabbed the hilt with one hand and the other end with the other hand. That's not going to help, Tsunade, and slammed her fist hard into the fan. The moment her fist collided the fan, It was like a large bell echoing through the streets. The entire ground shook, but Naruto held his ground. His fan didn't crack or waver. Tsunade was flabbergasted that the fan was still in one piece. She didn't even put a dent in that thing. It was true that she wasn't using her strength to the max, but that punch was enough to bring down a wall, and yet the fan was still in one piece. Naruto flexed his fan and unleashed a current of air, making Tsunade jump back and gain some distance. Naruto placed his left hand in the tiger seal, preparing to unleash a fire jutsu when he was interrupted by Jiraiya. "Stop, Naruto," Jiraiya yelled, and both turned to him. "Don't use ninjutsu in the middle of the street, Baka," Jiraiya explained, and Naruto nodded. Naruto took out a three-pronged kunai and threw it at Tsunade, who watched it approach very carefully. The moment the kunai was about to pass next to her head, Tsunade caught it by the handle and started spinning it around her fingers. "That wasn't a smart move," Naruto said, and Tsunade raised an eyebrow. "And why not?" Tsunade asked. "Did you notice that kunai isn't ordinary?" Naruto asked with a grin and made Tsunade stop spinning the kunai and look at it carefully, and she noticed that it was a three-pronged kunai with kanji on the handle. "He couldn't have," Tsunade thought just before she saw a bright yellow flash. She was about to turn around when she felt Naruto kicking her ass, making her jump in the air and nurse her rear. "The hell are you doing?" Tsunade asked, nursing her butt. "I win, Bachan," Naruto said, grinning with his foxy smirk. "Care to explain how that is?" Tsunade asked. "I said I would win if I kicked your ass, and I did just that," Naruto said, grinning, and started laughing at the faces of everyone when the realization hit them all. "You tricked me," Tsunade said, shaking her head. She couldn't win a damn bet to save her life. Hinata just shook her head. She knew Naruto was very devious and sneaky. Probably having a fox sealed inside of him increased his cunning as well. She should have seen that coming. "I did no such thing," Naruto innocently replied. "You agreed to the bet, so will you come back with us to the village and become our Hokage?" Naruto asked. Tsunade sighed in defeat and surprisingly relief. She walked calmly to Naruto and kneeled in front of him. She undid her necklace and wrapped it around Naruto's neck, kissing his forehead. "Become a great Hokage like your Bachan," Tsunade said, placing her hand above his necklace and his heart. Naruto just smiled and hugged her. "I'm glad it all worked out for the best," Jiraiya said, and turned to Tsunade. "Do I get a kiss or perhaps a hug?" Jiraiya asked, wiggling his eyebrows, and proceeded to be buried by Tsunade and her fists. Next day after last night's battle, everyone got together and went to a hotel to spend the night. It was a pain in the ass for Tsunade to allow Naruto and Hinata to sleep together, but in the end she caved, but warned them that they were too young for kids. They were all together eating breakfast silently when Tsunade remembered something. "Naruto-chan, why were you fighting those two yesterday anyway?" Tsunade asked, and Naruto sighed before starting his explanation. "Don't call me that, it sounds girly," Naruto whined, and Tsunade smirked. "I like Naruto-chan, it sounds better than Whiskers-kun," Hinata said, giggling, making Naruto glare at her. Naruto sighed before starting. "According to Erosenin, there's an organization called Akatsuki made up by S-rank criminals, and they are after the Bijus," Naruto explained, and Tsunade's eyes widened. It wasn't very common to see Kage-level shinobi working together. "They are rumored to have 10 members. Orochimaru used to belong to them until he betrayed them. For now I only know of Uchiha Itachi, Hashigaki Kisame, Sasori of the Red Sand, and Deidara the Mad Bomber. They are all S-rank," Jiraiya explained. "By the way, Hinata-chan," Naruto said, turning to her. "How did they catch you?" Naruto asked. Flashback: Naruto and Hinata had just parted ways with Jiraiya since he went towards the woman that blinked his way. They were both going towards the hotel when Hinata felt a chakra presence nearby. She activated her Byakugan and scanned the nearby roofs, trying to pinpoint the signature. It turned out to be a big mistake. Since Hinata activated her Byakugan, her vision became almost 360 degrees, which meant she couldn't help but to not see a pair of blood-red Sharingan eyes. It was just a small glimpse before Hinata broke the genjutsu it was placed on her, but it was good enough to distract her and allow a shadow clone to perform a substitution with her. Hinata was now facing two people which had long black cloaks with red clouds in them, and they were both wearing straw hats. The moment she was replaced and stood facing both of them, Kisame dashed towards her and tried to kick her in the chest to end this quickly. Hinata turned to the right, sidestepping the kick, and charging her hands with chakra, she tried a Juken strike to his right shoulder. The attack connected, but Kisame remained impassive. Hinata analyzed him with her Byakugan and noticed that her strike wasn't laced with chakra when she obviously charged it with. Hinata noticed that the sword had an active chakra network as if it was alive. Did the sword absorb the chakra? Hinata thought. What do you want? Hinata asked as she took the basic taijutsu stance. Let me play with her, Itachi-san, Kisame said. Itachi said nothing and took a few steps away from both of them. Itachi focused his attention on the faraway hotel. What do you want with me? Hinata asked again. Nothing. What we want is the Kyuubi brat, Kisame said, grinning, and Hinata knew that these two belonged to the Akatsuki and were most likely Kage-level shinobi. She knew she wouldn't stand much of a chance, but she wouldn't go down without a fight. Hinata flared her Byakugan and Kisame laughed and picked up his sword still wrapped in bandages. Hinata made a few hand seals and disabled her gravity seals and stood ready to face them. Kisame started grinning like a madman and tried a sword slash on Hinata to knock her away. She ducked under the swing. Kisame, using the momentum of his sword, tilted his body and tried to kick her again. Hinata sidestepped the kick and jumped in the air. Hinata placed the hands on his legs supporting herself and kicked Kisame in the face, knocking him back. Kisame got up pissed he got it and ran forward where Hinata was waiting in her defensive stance. He quickly arrived and they exchanged a flurry of blows, but Hinata was far too slippery and fast for the slow and wide movements of Kisame, and his sword wasn't helping. Kisame was becoming more and more pissed. He placed the sword on his back and decided to engage the girl purely on taijutsu. It was a big mistake and Itachi just shook his head. Itachi could clearly see that Hinata had the advantage in taijutsu. She may seem small and weak, but that was compensated by her agility and speed. Stay still, Kisame yelled as he couldn't even scratch her. If it was ninjutsu she would already been dead, but they couldn't use it because it may alert Jiraiya or Naruto. Hinata was supposed to be used as leverage. Hinata ducked under a punch and gave him a juken strike on his right leg, making him kneel. Kisame tried a right hook and Hinata caught it with her left hand and gave him a juken strike right to his hearth, destroying his hearth. Bitch, Kisame said and shakily placed his hands on the sword to get healed. Hinata heard the comment and kicked him where the sun doesn't shine, making Kisame's eyes pop out of his sockets. Even Itachi cringed and shivered when he saw that. Hinata felt a presence behind and turned just to see Itachi give a kick to her shoulder. She got hit, and the force of the kick made her turn towards Kisame, who had his sword ready, and slammed it against Hinata, making her fly into the ground. She crashed and was instantly knocked out. She was a slippery bitch, Kisame said, huffing at her. I'm tired of telling you to not underestimate your enemies. But you decided to engage in taijutsu against a Hyuga, Itachi said, sighing. You do realize that if you didn't have that sword you would have died, right? Itachi asked, and Kisame scoffed. Look at her, she's all small and skinny. It looks like she might break at any time, Kisame said, pointing at her. Deception is a ninja's greatest weapon. She may look frail, but her skill is at least elite Jounin level, bordering Kage level, Itachi said, and he remembered the battle with his Sharingan. Give it a couple of years and she will become a force to be reckoned with in taijutsu, Itachi explained. Fine, I get it. Let's just get the brat. He can't be much more difficult than her, Kisame said, and towards Hinata, to pick her up, and then heads towards Naruto. End flashback. Damn those two, Naruto said, clenching his fists. Next time they will die, Naruto said. It was my fault, Naruto-kun. I got caught in the first place and then ignored Itachi thinking he wouldn't interfere, Hinata explained, sighing. Tsunade-sama, Hinata called out, and she focused on her. Could you train me in the medical arts? I always wanted to become a combat medic, Hinata asked. She always had an interest in poisons, antidotes, and medicine. I'm surprised to see a Hyuga ask, Tsunade replied, surprised. I've tried many times in the past to have Hyugas as medics due to the Byakugan, but the Hyuga clan couldn't lower itself to practice medicine, Tsunade said, scoffing. Are you sure Hayashi will allow it? Tsunade asked, and Hinata shifted uncomfortably. I don't belong to the Hyuga clan anymore, Hinata replied. What do you mean? Tsunade asked, confused, thinking she didn't hear her right. My father deemed too weak to be the heiress of the clan, so he branded me with the caged bird seal and disowned me from the clan when I was 8 years old. I've been living with Naruto-kun ever since. That is why we are so comfortable sleeping together, Hinata explained, and Tsunade got pissed. That wasn't the Leaf Village her father had created. They treated Jinchuriki like garbage and left their own children to fend to themselves. She never liked the Hyugas, but this had just hit a new low. You don't have the seal, Tsunade said as she watched her forehead. Naruto-kun managed to remove it. Hinata replied, and Tsunade raised an eyebrow. So the brat was a seal master. He was just full of surprises. I will train you, Hinata, Tsunade said, and Hinata nodded, thanking her. I need to talk to you about something, Tsunade said, and they all stopped eating and focused on her. I'm supposed to meet with Orochimaru in 6 days, Tsunade said, and silence reigned at the table. I suppose he wants you to heal him for what I've done to him, Naruto said. It was the only logical outcome as to why Orochimaru would search for Tsunade now of all times. That's right. I agreed to meet with him in 6 days so we can end him there once and for all, Tsunade said, and Naruto got curious. Why did you agree to meet with him at a later date? Naruto asked, and Shizen looked carefully at Tsunade. He said that he would bring back Dan, Nawaki, and Kushina if healed him, Tsunade said, and no one said anything. He had already brought back my mother when we fought against him during the invasion, Naruto said. Naruto started but stopped to think if it would be a good idea. I can allow you to see them one last time, Naruto said, and Tsunade froze. Naruto, you can't mean… Jiraiya started, but Naruto interrupted. I can use the Edo Tensei without sacrifices, but the souls are only here temporarily. Once the time is up, they go back to the pure world, Naruto explained and turned to Tsunade. Tsunade bit her lip deep in thought. She wanted nothing more to have them back but to see them leave again. I want to see them again, one last time, Tsunade said, and Naruto nodded. Let's finish breakfast and go outside and do it then, Naruto said, and everyone agreed. Outside restaurant, empty field. Everyone left the restaurant and headed for an empty field where they could do the ritual without being disturbed. Everyone took a few steps back and allowed Naruto to do his job. Naruto was lucky that Tsunade had a few strands of hair from all of them. She kept them as a reminder of them. Naruto took out a scroll and placed it on the ground. He channeled chakra into it, and the kanji started spreading through the field, leaving 3 empty circles around the kanji. Shadow Clone Jutsu, Naruto said, and made 3 clones that went and sat on each of those circles. Shadow clones? Jiraiya asked. The Edo Tensei needs a vessel to anchor the souls to our realm. As long as the clone has chakra to sustain itself, I can use them as vessels, Naruto explained, and Jiraiya nodded. It made sense. Tiger, snake, dog, dragon. Naruto went through the hand. Seal's hand clapped his hands together. Kuchios, Edo Tensei, summoning technique, impure world resurrection, Naruto said, and the clones started to become covered by leaves until they took the form of someone else. The first person was a man. He had long, pale blue hair that reached his back and dark green eyes. He wore the standard Konoha shinobi outfit of that time, complete with forehead protector and the pocketless flak jacket. He was Kato Dan, Tsunade's lover and Naruto's maternal grandfather. The second person was also a young man. He had short light brown hair, green-gray eyes, and distinct blushes on his cheeks. For attire, he wore a dark teal poncho top and light green pants. He was Senju Nawaki, Tsunade's younger brother. The third one was a woman. She had waist-length fiery red hair and blue eyes. She was wearing dark ANBU pants and black ANBU chest plate. She was Senju Kushina, Tsunade's daughter and Naruto's mother. Where am I? Nawaki asked. The last thing he remembered was running through an empty field and then a loud explosion followed by darkness. Kushina, Nawaki, Dan, Tsunade said, looking at the 3 people that Naruto summoned back from the dead. You haven't changed a bit, Tsunade-chan, Dan said as he looked around. Kushi-chan, is that you? Dan asked the beautiful red-haired girl next to him. Yes, Tsu-san. It's good to see you again, Kushina said, and looked around to find Naruto, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and some girls she didn't know. So, hello, Naruto said, scratching the back of head, and everyone focused on him. I've temporarily brought you back so Tsunade could say proper goodbye. You will be able to be here for around a day, Naruto explained, and everyone nodded. Naruto-kun? Kushina asked. Yes, Ka-san? Naruto replied. Ka-san? Dan asked, eyeing the blonde carefully. Then that would make me your grandfather. It's nice to meet you, Dan said. You too, grandfather, Naruto replied, and looked to his left to see Nawaki talking to Tsunade, who was hugging him and crying. This is Hyuga Hinata, my girlfriend, Naruto said, introducing Hinata to his mother. Girlfrienda? Kushina asked in a teasing tone, making them both blush deep red. How did that happen? Kushina asked, wanting all the juicy details. Kushina asked, and Naruto went and told her about everything that had happened. How when they first met, Naruto saved Hinata from a couple of bullies. A year later he saved her from being kidnapped by a Kumonin, and when Hinata got kicked out they confessed to each other. Oh, that's so cute, Kushina said with stars in her eyes. Did you know that your father and I fell for each other in the same way? Kushina and Naruto raised an eyebrow in confusion. Back when I was around 10 years old, Kumo tried to kidnap me because of my special chakra that allows me to create chains. When I was kidnapped, we had already reached the border, and I was losing hope until your father appeared and saved me, Kushina said, and Naruto laughed at the coincidences. I guess we are meant to be, Naruto said and kissed Hinata's cheek, making her snuggle into his arms, and Kushina merely nodded. She could already tell that Hinata was a very sweet girl that loved Naruto very much. How is the furball treating you? Kushina, and when she heard Naruto's stomach growl, that was response enough. I guess he doesn't like being called furball, Naruto replied, chuckling. What if I called you flesh bag, would you like it? Kurama asked. I guess not, but you've already called me that a couple of times, Naruto replied, and Kurama stayed silent. Naruto-kun, are you alright? Kushina asked as Naruto suddenly spaced out. He does that sometime when he talks with the Kyuubi, Hinata explained, and Kushina smacked her head for not thinking of that. Naruto got back to the reel of the living and noticed both of them looking intently at him. What? Naruto asked, and they were both staring at him. Nothing, it's just your face went through a couple of emotions and you almost look like a clown, Kushina said, and Naruto's sweat dropped. You know, Kushina started gathering his attention. It's a shame you can't meet Minato-kun, Kushina said sadly. I already did, Naruto replied, making Kushina perk up in confusion. When I was 5 years old, I awakened my Sharingan and he appeared in my mindscape. He explained me everything that happened the night that I was born. He told me about his father and unlocked the Kyuubi's cage, Naruto explained, and Kushina nodded until Naruto's stomach grumbled. I guess I'm angry, Naruto said, chuckling. One of the things Naruto most liked is eating. It's almost noon, Naruto innocently said, and Kushina chuckled at his son's antics. All right, gather up, Naruto yelled, and everyone got together. It's noon. How about we go for lunch? Naruto asked, and everyone nodded. Wait, Jiraiya, and everyone stopped. Do Edo Tenseis even feel hunger? Jiraiya asked, and Naruto shrugged and turned to them. I could eat, but maybe it's just the vessel that is hungry, Kushina explained, but they all shrugged. It wasn't that big of a deal. So what should we go for? Tsunade asked. Ramen, Naruto and Kushina instantly replied, and everyone chuckled. It looked like Naruto got his ramen addiction from his mother. I'm not paying, Jiraiya quickly said, sealing his wallet away. Later that day they all spent the day as a family should have, having fun and enjoying their company. Their lunch was an epic standoff and ramen eating contest between Naruto and Kushina. Unfortunately for Naruto, Kushina was an Edo Tensei and, as such, she couldn't get full, and Naruto caved at 15 bowls, passing out. Dan and Nawaki got to meet their grandson and grandnephew respectively. They all learned a lot on about the world had changed. Dan pretty much told Naruto stories of Hashirama and Tobirama since he was alive when they existed. So this is it, Tsunade said. Naruto felt that his shadow clones were running on fumes, and it would a couple of minutes before they dispelled, ending the jutsu. Don't cry, Tsunade-chan. It doesn't suit a strong woman like you, Dan replied with a small smile. I got to meet my grandson and see our daughter again, Dan said, and Tsunade slowly nodded. It hurt to see them leave again. It good to see you again, Tsunade said, and turned to Nawaki. At least I got to give you a proper goodbye, Tsunade said. Don't worry, Nei-san, Nawaki said, grinning. Even though I don't like to have been killed, at least we won. But one day it will be like Two-san wanted. An era of peace without wars and conflict, when mankind will be able to understand each other, Nawaki said. For someone so young, he sure had strong beliefs. This at Naruto. I'm sorry for the burden we placed on you, Kushina said. Even though she got to know the fox very well and knew he would help Naruto, she knew that the village wouldn't honor Minato's wish. Don't worry, I'm happy you entrusted it to me, Naruto hugging his mother for the last time. And don't forget about the promise I made, Naruto said, and Kushina grinned. I'll be waiting. In the meantime, wait a couple of years before you give me grandsons, Kushina said, smirking, and they both blushed and looked away from each other. Goodbye, Naruto-kun, Kushina said before the clone dispelled and Kushina's body disintegrated until it remained nothing but leaves on the ground. Leave the rest of your life to the fullest, Dan said as he also disappeared. Bye, Nasan, Iwaki said and vanished as well. No one said anything for a couple of minutes as they were all walking home. Tsunade was happy she got to see them all one last time, and Naruto was happy he got to talk and get to know his mother a bit more. Let's get ready, Tsunade said, and everyone got confused looks. I need a new snakeskin wallet, Tsunade said, smirking. Akatsuki base. Outposts for both Akatsuki members didn't expect to find such resistance from the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, especially when he was only 14 years old. Kisame managed to drag Itachi's unconscious body towards one of many Akatsuki outposts located around the Land of Fire. Kisame used his ring to call the leader of the organization. Not even 5 minutes had passed and an holographic figure appeared in the middle of the room. We couldn't see much from the figure besides it had short, spiky hair, but the thing that stood out were his eyes. His eyes were dark silver with concentric circles around the pupil. A/N. I know the Rinnegan is supposed to be purple, but I like the silver color more, report, the figure said before looking carefully at both members, stopping at Itachi. What happened to him? The figure asked as he took notice to the state of Itachi. To put it simply, he looked like someone who was put through a blender. The Kyuubi brat happened to him, Kisame replied, and the figure looked at him in disbelief. You mean to tell me a 14-year-old knocked out Itachi? The figure asked. We were severely outgunned. Our spies told us that he was the loud-mouthed dead last, but it was far from the truth, Kisame said. Explain, the figure said. For starts, the Kyuubi brat has not only the Sharingan, but also the next level, the Manjikyu Sharingan, Kisame said. What? The figure asked. Something was missing. Itachi, Sasuke, and Madara were supposed to be the last Uchihas. It's true, he says he's Uchiha Madara's grandson. He broke Itachi's Tsukuyami like nothing, and the Amaterasu flames did nothing against him, Kisame explained. Madara's grandson, why didn't he tell me? The figure thought. Something here wasn't right. I see, what else can you tell me? The figure asked. He has some strange power that allows physical attacks to go through him as if he was a ghost, Kisame explained. The figure raised an eyebrow. Intangibility, like Madara's power, the figure thought. The Kyuubi brat was becoming more trouble than he first thought. Anything else? The figure asked. Oh yeah, he can use the Kyuubi's power without losing control. He went to 4 tails and that was sufficient to force Itachi to use his Susanoo, Kisame said. That is a problem, the figure replied. But no matter, your job was only recon, you did a good job, the figure said, and was about to leave when Itachi was the one who interrupted him. Are we to leave him alone for 3 years? Itachi asked. We don't know what level he might achieve with 3 more years, seeing the level he is right now, Itachi said. Naruto was already very powerful, and leaving him alone for 3 years to master the Manjikyu might not be the best move. If it comes to that, I'll take him down myself, the figure said, and was about to leave until he said one last thing. After all, no one can stand against a god. Chapter 29, End of a Snake. Iwagakure, Stone Village. Iwagakure no Sato, or the Hidden Stone Village, is one of the great 5 shinobi nations. Their leader is called Tsuchikage, or Earth Shadow, and their current one is Inoki. Inoki is a very short old man with a triangular beard and a mustache that has angular corners, a big red nose and thick eyebrows. The top of his head is completely bald, although he has long white hair on the lower half of his head, which is styled in a traditional Chanmage haircut, the back of which is tied with a yellow ribbon into a topknot. He wears a green and yellow coat with a red collar. Underneath, he wears the traditional Iwagakure outfit consistent of a light green version of Iwagakure's flak jacket and mesh armor. He, however, has both his sleeves of his shirt, but kept the single lapel on his right side. Along with this, he wears sandals. The Stone Village is well known for the rock-hard attitude and extreme loyalty of their shinobi. Once their leader issues an order, they will follow it blindly even if it costs their lives. The standard attire for shinobi from this village consists of red outfit, which can have sleeves, a lapel which is usually found on the side without a sleeve, and a brown flak jacket. They also tend to wear mesh armor around their ankles. Iwagakure ninjas seem to specialize in earth release techniques. Speaking of the village itself, it's located in the midst of some rocky mountains. These mountains provide natural defenses, making the village a stronghold. Unlike Konoha, The houses are built completely out of stone instead of wood, making them more durable and resistant in case of attack. Currently we find that Tsuchikage in his office navigating the maze of paperwork that seems to plague every kage. His office is located in the biggest structure on the village, which all of them are cone-shaped. "Curse this damn paperwork," the Tsuchikage said, cursing this paperwork with all his might. He was half tempted to vaporize everything around him, which wouldn't be too hard. Why it wouldn't be too hard is very simple. The Tsuchikage is the last known wielder of the dust release. Although technically it isn't a Kekkai Genkai, one must have affinity for earth, fire, and wind, which isn't very common for shinobi to have natural affinities for more than 2 elements. Inoki is a very proud, headstrong, and boastful individual. Due of his age, he is also somewhat frail, with constant complaints about hip and back pains. Although he's old, similar to the Hokage in fact, he refuses to step down from the Kage position until he finds a worthy heir to his position. The Tsuchikage picked a paper, and it was a simple report of a simple D-rank mission. He quickly scanned through it and stamped it, placing it on the other end of the table. This was his routine when not sleeping. He would spend his days reading and stamping reports. He was broken from his work by a knock of the door. "Come in," Inoki said. The door opened and a man entered. He was wearing the standard IWA attire with the exception that the red shirt went all the up to his chin. He had black eyes with brown hair stylized with a small ponytail. "Good morning, Tsuchikage-sama," the man said, greeting his leader and kneeling in front of him. "Masato, need something?" Inoki asked. Masato was in fact the village's spy master. The spy master's job, like the name states, is to keep tabs on the other villages and other information that might seem relevant to his village's safety and welfare. "Yes, Tsuchikage-sama," Masato replied, standing up. "We received a letter from the Sand addressed directly to you and came in their fastest carrier, and also we heard of something interesting in Konoha," Masato explained, handing the letter over to the Tsuchikage. The letter had already been scanned to make sure it wasn't an explosive tag or other trap. "Tsuchikage-dana, we are sending this message in our fastest carrier as the situation is very strenuous to us, and we would like a reply as fast as possible. 5 days ago our village allied itself with the Sound village and launched an invasion against Konoha. The invasion didn't go as planned and we, along with the Sound, were defeated. It appears the Konoha had somehow found about the invasion prior to it, and was able to prepare. We have severely underestimated their power, and we placed faith on someone of questionable integrity, a mistake on our part. According to our reports, Konoha's Jinchuriki was responsible for defeating the fully released Shikaku but also killed our Kage along with 200 of our own. A more detailed report is attached to the letter. We took a crippling blow to our forces, and as such we would propose an alliance with your village as it holds no love for Konoha. This would be a complete alliance, meaning more commercial routes and agreements, and of course military help if needed. We have also dispatched a letter to the Earth Daimyo explaining the situation as the Wind Daimyo as agreed with an alliance should you accept. Yours faithfully, Suna counseled that Tsuchikage read the letter a couple of times so he wouldn't miss anything. So they let themselves be guided by Orochimaru. Fools! Inoki thought. Placing your trust on a Nukenin is hardly ever a good idea, and Orochimaru didn't exactly have the best reputation. Judging from the letter, they must fear a possible invasion if they are requesting an alliance with us of all people, Inoki mused in thought. IWA, much like Kyumo, were independent, and they didn't particularly like alliances. Interesting, Inoki thought out loud. Sir? Masato said. The Sand wants an alliance with us, Inoki said, but Masato didn't seem particularly surprised. You don't seem surprised, Inoki stated. I've heard some very interesting news from our spies in Konoha, but I was going to inform you after you had read the letter, Masato stated. Do you have the reports? Inoki asked, and Masato nodded, handing them the reports of their invasion based on the survivors. Inoki quickly read through the invasion reports, and it was basic stuff on how Suna got their asses handed to them, and they ran with their tails between their legs. He kept on reading until he found the part on Konoha's Jinchuriki, someone named Uzumaki Naruto. Apparently the Jinchuriki was nothing more than a brat of 14 years old. And yet this genin managed to kill a fifth of the Suna's forces with a single jutsu. He had displayed high level of ninjutsu and fuinjutsu. Fuinjutsu. It seems that Konoha still bets on that, Inoki thought as he continued on reading the letter until he found a picture of said Jinchuriki. His eyes widened and his blood ran cold when he saw what the Jinchuriki looked like. He still couldn't forget those cold blue eyes and that spiky golden hair. He felt as if he was staring at the Namikaze once again. It can't be, Inoki thought. How he despised the Namikaze. Minato was the reason Konoha won the Third Shinobi War by slaughtering 1,000 of their shinobi in just a couple of seconds. And now Inoki was staring at some kid who looked just like him except he had longer hair and whiskers marks on his face, but the similarities were too much to ignore. Masato, Inoki said, getting his attention. What news have you heard from Konoha? Inoki quickly asked to see if he had anything on this Naruto. Apparently Konoha has a Senju heir which is none other than the Jinchuriki Naruto, Masato explained. But the kicker is that this Naruto is the son of Namikaze Minato, the Yellow Flash, Masato stated, confirming Inoki's biggest fears. So the bastard sealed the Kyuubi inside his own son, Inoki said. Namikaze had reproduced and unleashed another Yellow Flash upon this world. Inoki would have his revenge. He would avenge his son's death by the Yellow Flash by killing his son in return. But there's more, Masato said, and Inoki focused on him. Senju Naruto, the son of Namikaze Naruto, is apparently the grandson of Uchiha Madara, which would mean that the Namikaze was Madara's son. Inoki finished by him in a disbelieving tone, and Masato nodded. Inoki also despised Madara sometimes even more than the Yellow Flash. When he was younger, and they had just signed a treaty with Konoha, Madara had the ghoul of stating that IWA was nothing more than Konoha's slaves. It seemed as IWA had a very grim past with those of Uchiha blood. After all, IWA wanted Madara dead and they got that, and then Namikaze appears as if to finish his father's job of killing IWA shinobi. To think that Namikaze would be Madara's son, Inoki said, gritting his teeth. However, I do find it strange that no one ever knew of his Sharingan. Inoki mused out loud. The son of the most powerful Uchiha to ever live would without a doubt awaken his Sharingan, but they never knew of it. In fact, they didn't know of the Namikaze's parents until 14 years after his death. It seems Konoha has a Namikaze heir, but they stacked all their cards into one person. He's both the last Senju, as Tsunade's is past reproducing age, and the last Namikaze, Inoki thought as he rubbed his beard. Or Uchiha, I should say, Inoki corrected. What are we going to do regarding Suna and the Namikaze bastard? Masato asked. He too, along with all of IWA, had no love towards Minato, and finding out he was the son of Uchiha Madara didn't exactly help. We can't do any direct actions against the Yellow Flash's brat right now, as it would raise too much attention. Let it cool down a bit before, Inoki explained. The world had just been informed of a Namikaze heir, and trying to kill him right now would raise too much suspicion towards IWA, so it could wait. Regarding Suna, I'm tempted to accept their alliance, Inoki said. What are your thoughts? Inoki asked Masato. Unlike Konoha or Suna, IWA has a full dictatorship with Inoki holding all the power, but even then he would seek out advice on his most trusted shinobi. I think we should accept. We have nothing to lose, and I've heard that Konoha doesn't intend to attack them, so this must be just some guarantee against Kumo since Kiri is still in war, Masato explained. I concur with your assessment, Inoki agreed and quickly wrote a reply to Suna's request. After Suna had chosen their new Kazekage, they would have a formal meeting with both Kages to discuss the full terms of their alliance and iron out any details. Send it to Suna, Inoki said, giving the letter to Masato, who sealed it. What about the Senju? Masato asked. He had nothing against the Senju clan itself, but knowing that he was the son of the Yellow Flash and Madara's grandson sealed his fate. Like I said, let things cool down for now, Inoki explained. In the meantime, put him in the bingo book. I want him captured alive so he can be executed in front of the whole village to show them what happens when they mess with IWA, Inoki said, grinning. That would be his last act as Tsuchikage, killing the Namikaze brat. What rank and bounty shall we give? Masato asked. Based on the reports and knowing he's a bastard son, give him Naruto and company. It was the day after Tsunade and Naruto had talked with their family, and currently we find them in some empty field training. Since Tsunade had agreed to meet Orochimaru, and with him injured they had the golden opportunity to end him once and for all. This world would be a better place without that snake laying around. Hinata was training with Shizen and Tsunade. Since she asked for it, they might as well start it already. So you want to become a medic nin, right? Tsunade asked, and Hinata nodded. Why? Tsunade asked, as he never got the full story from her. Because I prefer to heal people than hurt them, Hinata replied, and Tsunade raised an eyebrow. Don't get me wrong, I know when it's necessary to hurt or kill someone, but I prefer to make people feel better, Hinata explained. She never liked killing as she was too kind for that, but she knew that sometimes it was for the best. Naruto really chose well, Tsunade said, smirking, making Hinata slightly blush. Alright, brat, I'll train you. From now on you call me Tsunade-sensei when I'm training you, got that? Tsunade asked. Hi, Tsunade-sensei. Hinata replied without a shred of doubt in her voice. For starters, tell me what you know, Tsunade said. I have very good chakra control and knowledge of the human anatomy, and even better understanding of poisons and antidotes, but also medicinal herbs. I don't know any healing techniques, so I just use some healing cream I make. Hinata explained, and Tsunade raised an eyebrow. Poisons, antidotes, and medicinal herbs? Tsunade asked, and Hinata nodded. That isn't covered in the academy, so I assume you studied that on the side? Tsunade asked, and Hinata nodded once again. It's a very good start. Now let's see how good your chakra control is, Tsunade said, and picked a small brown pouch from somewhere. Here, put your palms up, Tsunade said, and Hinata complied. Tsunade then emptied the pouch onto Hinata's hands. From the pouch came a bunch of multicolored sand. The sand was composed of 4 colors: blue, brown, red, and green. Now I want you to separate the sand by color and align them in your palm using only chakra, Tsunade explained. If you can do this in less than 5 seconds, means that your chakra control is very good and on par with Shizen and more than enough for a few medical techniques. If you make it, I'll show a few others that are only known by medics to further increase it, Tsunade explained, and Hinata got to it. Hinata did a few tries just so she could get a feel for the sand. The timer started and Hinata started channeling chakra to her hands. It had to be a very minuscule amount, otherwise the sand would simply fly off her hands. She decided to split the sand by colors, starting on blue, then going for brown, red, and green. After the sand was divided by color into equal globs, she slowly started aligning them in a straight line. Once she was done, she cleaned a bit of sweat from her forehead. She never had to concentrate so much in her life for such a simple thing. 6 seconds. That's very, very good, Tsunade said, impressed by Hinata. This kind of control was Kage level for fighting, but for medical applications it was necessary so much more than that. Just out of curiosity, what are your affinities? Tsunade asked. I have both wind and water, but also a small lightning affinity. Due to my usage, the water is my strongest, Hinata explained. Even better. Water affinity is the best for medical use, Tsunade stated. I'll show you how to use the mystical palm technique that speeds up the body's natural healing process, Tsunade explained, and Hinata nodded, getting right into it. That day went by without much trouble, and by the afternoon Hinata could maintain the mystical palm technique indefinitely, or at least until she ran out of chakra. Tsunade had warned of the dangers should she send too much chakra with the technique. If Hinata used too much chakra in this technique, instead of healing the victim, it would render them into a comatose state. Now this time it was Shizen that decided to teach Hinata on poisons. Tsunade knew everything about poisons, but she was more turned to countering them instead of creating them like Shizen and Hinata liked to. What ways do you have to deliver poison? Shizen asked. The only way I know is to use Samban or other weapon coated with the poison I want, Hinata explained, and Shizen nodded. Then I'll show you this one, Shizen said, and broke away from Hinata, getting clear from her Dokujiri poison mist, Shizen said, just before pumping her lungs with chakra and expelling a thick purple mist from her mouth. Just by looking at it, anyone knew that it would be better to get the hell out of Dodge. Just by inhaling a small bit of it would be fatal. To do this, you must convert your chakra into a certain chemical that, once expelled, it mixes with the air, converting it into the poison mist. So in fact, you breathing a chemical and not the poison itself, making it safer for you to use, Shizen explained, and proceeded to teach Hinata how to transform her chakra into different chemicals to achieve different poisons. Boom! An explosion echoed through the whole field, and Hinata turned to the left to see smoke rising on the horizon. Looks like Naruto is having trouble, Hinata said, giggling to herself. With Naruto not too far away from where Hinata, Shizen, and Tsunade were, was Naruto also doing his training. He had already did his morning warm-up routine, so now we find him working on his Rasengan. He is currently trying to create a bigger Rasengan like Jiraiya said. Jiraiya is currently missing, and by missing I mean he doing his research for his next novel. And by research I mean peeking on the local hot springs or some other place where one could find some unfortunate beauties with low amount of clothing on. Boom! An explosion echoed through the field as the Rasengan he had in his hands destabilized and exploded, dispelling the clones and destroying the ground. Damn it, this is not working, Naruto said, frustrated. He made a cross sign and replaced the shadow clones that were destroyed. He didn't understand what he was missing. He managed to learn the Rasengan rather quickly, but this was proving difficult. Naruto started once again a normal Rasengan and stopped when it stabilized. He began pumping more chakra into the small sphere. The sphere began glowing and was quickly approaching twice the normal chakra. Just a bit more, Naruto said, and a drop of sweat fell from his face. BOM. That's it. Back to the beginning, Naruto said, shaking his head. What can I do? The outer layer isn't strong enough to hold so much chakra, Naruto was thinking as he tried to figure it out. Then he remembered his fight against Shikaku and when he used his Bijudama. The layer can't hold so much power. If the chakra density is too big from such a small layer and I must increase the power, the only way is to increase its volume. Naruto thought and concluded that to maintain the stability he had to reinforce the outer layer by making it bigger and larger. He began to do just that. Naruto started to gather chakra and stopped at the normal Rasengan. Now, instead of just pumping chakra, he began to add chakra and expand the outer layer simultaneously. The results were instantaneous. The ball kept on increasing while maintaining its stability. Naruto was pumping more and more chakra and the sphere was almost reaching 4 times the normal amount, and Naruto decided to stop there and see if he could hold it there. Looks like you made some progress, Jiraiya said as he entered the field. His cheeks were slightly colored, meaning he was drinking at some point. I finally got it, Ero Sennin, Naruto replied, and Jiraiya sighed at the nickname. His mother used to call him the exact same thing when she was still alive. How much chakra did you put there? Jiraiya asked to see if his big Rasengan met the standards. 4 times as much, Naruto replied, and Jiraiya nodded. 4 times the normal Rasengan was just fine. It should be just fine. Use a shadow clone as clash it with mine, Jiraiya said, and Naruto dispelled the remaining clones, forming only one. The clone made an Urama Rasengan and dashed towards the waiting Jiraiya. The glowing blue orbs connected with each other, and the ground started shaking from the energy being released. Neither sphere wanted to be overrun, but slowly Naruto's Rasengan started to waver, and the whole ground exploded. When the smoke cleared, Jiraiya's clone was still standing, although he was smoking. Your big Rasengan is good. You just need to use it a couple of times to get a feel for it, Jiraiya explained, and Naruto nodded, going back to his training. Why don't you take a break? You've been at it for hours, aren't you tired? Jiraiya asked. It was almost nightfall, meaning Naruto has been training his Rasengan for a couple of hours now. Don't you know me? Naruto replied, grinning towards him, and Jiraiya just shook his head. It's getting dark. How about we go for some dinner? Jiraiya asked, and knew Naruto wouldn't refuse. After all, one of the things Naruto liked most after Hinata and training was eating. They all regrouped and headed towards some local restaurant. They were all eating peacefully since they weren't in a hurry, and they decided to plan what to do against Orochimaru. Planning against a Kage-level shinobi would hardly work, especially against someone as slippery as Orochimaru. What are we going to against Orochi-baka? Naruto asked, and Jiraiya chuckled. Naruto called him exactly the same thing Jiraiya once did. After all, they were once teammates, and almost brothers. Tsunade hummed and thought with her hand in her chin. I can fake healing him and try to kill him with a medical technique, Tsunade explained. Are you sure it will work? Jiraiya asked. If it failed, she might find herself in a compromising position. This technique looks like the mystical palm, so it should fool him, as he has no advanced knowledge on medical techniques. It works by infusing a poisonous chakra of sorts into his system. Once inserted, the poison instantaneously spreads through the whole network, destroying almost instantly, Tsunade explained. He should drop dead in a matter of seconds, Tsunade said, grinning. What if he sees through? Naruto asked. He will know that you sided with Konoha and most likely try to kill you, Naruto explained. The best we can do if she is discovered is to try and lead them into an open field to battle, Jiraiya explained. Battling a Kage-level shinobi in the middle of a town would most likely destroy everything in it, especially someone of Orochimaru's caliber. There are various types of Kage, and Orochimaru stands in the higher division. Okay. Imagine we can lure him out onto an empty field, Naruto said. Then what? Naruto asked. We smoke his ass, Tsunade simply said, and everyone's sweat dropped at the simplicity of their plan. Good enough for me, Naruto said, and everyone went back to eating. 6 days later, the sun was shining high in the air, engulfing the whole town in a golden aura. It was around noon and Orochimaru was calmly walking towards his destination with his most trusted henchman/sidekick by his side, also known as Yakushi Kabuto. They suddenly stopped as they were in the place they agreed to meet Tsunade. Not even a few minutes had passed and Orochimaru could see Tsunade approaching in the horizon. He smirked at the thought that his offer had been accepted. He never doubted that Tsunade would refuse it. He knew she would give anything to see them again, even if it was only one more time just to say goodbye. Little did Orochimaru know that Tsunade had already got her wish to see her family once again. Orochimaru was even more satisfied that Tsunade came alone. It further confirmed his suspicion that she accepted by dumping her apprentice. "Do you have your answers, Tsunade?" Orochimaru asked, smirking, and she simply nodded, faking a sad mood. "If I heal your arm, can you really bring them back?" Tsunade asked, and Orochimaru just nodded. "Where's your necklace?" Orochimaru asked, surprised she didn't have it on. "Shit," Tsunade thought, but remained calm and with a saddened aura. "Why should it matter?" Tsunade asked, and Orochimaru shrugged it off. "Give me your arm," Tsunade said as she slowly walked towards Orochimaru. She flexed her hands forward and they started glowing green. To anyone else it seemed like a normal healing technique. Just before she reached Orochimaru, a kunai was thrown at her, making her jump back. "What's the meaning of this, Kabuto?" Orochimaru asked, angry. "That is an assignation technique very similar to the mystical palm. She was trying to kill you, Orochimaru-sama," Kabuto explained, and Orochimaru growled. "How cunning of you, Tsunade. Trying to kill me when I had my guard down. Too bad for you, I have powerful allies by my side," Orochimaru replied, chuckling. "It appears you have sided with Konoha, and I know now the fate of your necklace. You most likely gave it to Naruto-kun," Orochimaru said. "Like you will leave this town alive," Tsunade said, smirking, and without thought dashed towards both of them. She jumped in the air and brought her heel down, smashing it into the ground and vaporizing it. "Time for Plan B," Tsunade thought, and began to chase them off town and driving them into some empty field. "This is it, Orochimaru," Tsunade said, smirking. "What can you do?" Orochimaru replied, chuckling. "You are alone against both of us, and Kabuto isn't to be underestimated. He's at the level of Hatake Kakashi," Orochimaru said, smirking. "I'm not alone," Tsunade said, taking a kunai from her clothes and sending it to the ground. The moment the kunai connected, there was a bright flash of yellow, and Jiraiya, Hinata, Shizen, and Naruto were seen standing there side by side with Tsunade. "How about these odds?" Tsunade smugly pointed out. "Tisk," Orochimaru replied. "How nice of you to join us, Naruto-kun," Orochimaru said, licking his lips, making Naruto shiver. "How's the arm?" Naruto innocently asked, and Orochimaru scowled. "Long time no see, Orochibaka," Jiraiya said, and Naruto chuckled. "Jiraiya," Orochimaru said, watching his once teammate. "Let's get this over with," Tsunade said before elbowing Jiraiya to the side, making him fall to the ground, and started dashing towards Orochimaru and Kabuto. Tsunade was running when Orochimaru quickly bit his thumb, drawing blood, and threw it at Tsunade. The blood connected with her face, and she hesitated momentarily. Kabuto took the opportunity, and using his chakra scalpels he sliced through the most important muscles in her legs. He was about to cut her throat when he was almost blinded by a yellow flash. Naruto instantly appeared above Tsunade as he had marked her and everyone else. Naruto used Tsunade's shoulder for support and kicked Kabuto in the shoulder, sending his tumbling to the ground. Naruto kicked Kabuto and continued his momentum. He turned mid-air and locked eyes with Orochimaru. His normal Sharingan quickly shifted to his Manjikyu. Orochimaru sensed his chakra spike and was about to jump away when Naruto said, "Amaterasu." Orochimaru's body erupted in black flames, and he fell to the ground shaking, trying to extinguish the powerful flames. Naruto quickly flashed back to Jiraiya with Tsunade on her toes. She was slightly shaken up from seeing the blood, but it appears her talk with her loved ones helped to the point she didn't become catatonic. She dropped to the ground, and Shizen along with Hinata started healing her the best they could. "Do you think it was enough?" Naruto asked. "Hardly. I don't think he will go down with just that," Jiraiya asked, and Naruto extended his senses. He could easily see something being burned with his Amaterasu flames, and Kabuto was getting up. "Jump!" Naruto yelled, and everyone split away from their current position as Orochimaru's head bursted from the ground with the sword in his mouth. Naruto looked at the blade and saw it dripping some purple substance, meaning the blade was coated with poison. They jumped away and regrouped just to see the rest of Orochimaru's body coming out of the ground unharmed. Naruto focused his eyes towards his flames and they were still there, meaning it wasn't some clone. How did you avoid the Amaterasu flames? Naruto asked. He knew for a fact that these flames couldn't be put out, and a simple kawarimi wouldn't work as the flames wouldn't leave his body. He shed his skin. Jiraiya explained as Orochimaru had some sticky residue in his skin. I remember, Naruto said. He did the same thing back in the Forest of Death. He vomited himself out of his body. That's the best way to describe it, Naruto said, slightly disgusted by the jutsu. Yeah, he was always a disgusting bastard, Jiraiya stated. Why don't you join us, Naruto-kun? Kabuto asked out of nowhere. Why would I do that? Naruto rhetorically asked. There is nothing you can offer me that would make me leave my home, Naruto said. You can offer you power, Kabuto replied. I have plenty of power, Naruto said, grinning. How about we bring back your mother and father? Orochimaru replied, smirking. You are a fool, Orokibaka, Naruto replied, and he raised an eyebrow. I know how to the Edo Tensei, so I could bring my mother back if I wanted to. However, my father is sealed inside the God of Death's stomach, and we both know the Edo Tensei can't bring his soul back, Naruto explained, and they stared at him. There's nothing you can offer me, Naruto said before picking his fan from his back. Katon Zukaku, cranium carver, Naruto said, and sent a small fireball towards Orochimaru. However, this ball was going way too fast. Orochimaru and Kabuto jumped away, but the ball collided with the ground and exploded in flames, scorching both of them. Just as Orochimaru was about to touch the ground, Tsunade appeared behind him. Hi there, Tsunade said with a very sweet smile before cocking her fist and slamming it against Orochimaru's chest. He was sent flying into the ground, and when he crashed it formed a crater due to the force of the impact. A single punch, one punch, and she broke all of my ribs and melted my insides, Orochimaru thought just before he shed his skin once again, coming out unharmed. That is going to be a problem, Hinata said as she watched with her Byakugan and noticed that Orochimaru was once again unharmed. Naruto, Hinata, can you both handle 4 eyes? Jiraiya asked, and Naruto just stared at him with his eyebrows raised. Of course you can, Jiraiya said deadpanned. Naruto and Hinata both ran towards Kabuto while Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Shizen would deal with Orochimaru. Orochimaru seethed his teeth as his odds weren't looking too bright. Apparently Tsunade wasn't afraid of blood anymore, making him being against 2 Kage-level shinobi. Shizen he could ignore. He looked towards his sidekick and he knew he wouldn't stand a chance. Naruto had enough raw power to easily match Kage-level shinobi. You know you don't stand a chance, right? Naruto asked. Oh my, such arrogance, Kabuto replied, smirking while pushing his glasses up. It isn't arrogance when you can back it up, Naruto simply replied, shrugging his shoulders. Besides, you are up against 2, Naruto explained. That may be, but I won't go down easily, Kabuto said and began running towards both of them. Naruto and Hinata teamed up and ran towards him as well, meeting him at halfway. They immediately engaged in taijutsu. Usually when someone is fighting more than one person at the time, sometimes it might be easier to hit one of them as they can confuse and stumble on each other. However, this didn't apply to Naruto or Hinata. They trained together for years and were in love with each other. They were the meaning of teamwork. Their stances flowed together like water in a river, each one covering the other's blind spots. When one of them attacked, the other would slightly fall back into a defensive stance. Kabuto couldn't do anything unless become a punching for this duo. Both of them were amazingly skilled in taijutsu, with Hinata's being deadlier. Hinata sidestepped a sloppy punch from Kabuto. She grabbed him by his wrist and tried to break it with a twist. However, Kabuto twisted his body along with it, flipping in the air, preventing his wrist from being broken. Naruto took the opportunity of Kabuto's being in the air, the kicked in the chest, sending him tumbling to the ground. He easily got up and started healing himself. After he was ready, he channeled chakra to his hands, and they started to glow and buzz like a saw. Both Naruto and Hinata looked at the chakra in his hands with their dijitsu, and they both could see that it was definitely some kind of knife made purely with chakra. Be careful, Naruto-kun, Hinata said, and Naruto turned to her. Those are chakra scalpels used to cut muscle and other tissues of the human body during operations, Hinata explained. So, don't let the hands touch you, right? Naruto asked, and she nodded. Yes, let me try something, Hinata said and stepped in front of Naruto. Hinata pumped her lungs full of chakra and said, Dokujiri, poison mist. A purple fog came from her mouth and headed towards Kabuto, who was engulfed in a cloud of venom. He hid underground, Hinata said as she had seen Kabuto with her Byakugan. Kabuto suddenly emerged from the ground just beside her and tried an uppercut. Hinata had already expected such a thing and tilted her body back, coiling herself, and delivered a fierce kick to his face. His glasses shattered and he was sent flying into the ground. Nice one, Naruto commented. He always liked seeing his princess in action. Thank you, she replied. Kabuto got up and spat a bit of blood onto the ground, dropping his glasses as well since they were useless by now. Snap! A sickening crunch was heard through the field as Kabuto realigned his broken nose to its proper place. Can you even see well enough to fight us? Naruto asked since Kabuto was now without glasses. If I channel chakra to my eyes, I can see as good as a normal person, Kabuto explained, bragging. Don't count me out just yet, Kabuto replied, grinning. Suddenly a huge shadow appeared next to Naruto, and Hinata blocking the sun from them. It was a massive brown snake. The snake immediately slammed itself into the ground trying to squash them, but they jumped aside, evading it. Looks like Orochimaru sent back up, Naruto replied, smirking. Katan, Ryuka no Jutsu, Dragon Fire Technique, Naruto said and sent a stream of fire towards the snake. She was engulfed by the fire and disappeared from view. Once the fire was gone, the snake was still in the same place, and it wasn't even scorched as the skin was too rough for such weak attack. Kabuto jumped on top of its head and the snake made her way towards Naruto and Hinata, trying to eat them or squash them. It didn't make a difference in the end. The snake opened its mouth and expelled some semi-transparent liquid onto them. They jumped to the side and liquid hit the ground. Poison, Hinata said, and Naruto nodded. Futon Shinkuhal, Air Blade, Hinata said and exhaled multiple wind blades that were sent towards the snake. The air blades didn't even waver as they hit the snake and sliced it up into multiple pieces, making blood spurt all over the field. The snake disappeared in smoke as well, all the blood. Problem, Kabuto? Naruto asked, chuckling as Kabuto scowled. Kabuto, Orochimaru yelled from his side of the battle, and Kabuto quickly shined next to his master. Kuchios no Jutsu, Summoning Technique, Orochimaru said and traced a line of blood in the tattoo of his only working arm. Both Orochimaru and Kabuto were engulfed in smoke. Once the smoke cleared, a rather large purple snake appeared. The snake was Manda, the boss summon of the Snake Clan and the strongest of them all. Orochimaru. I want 100 sacrifices for summoning me, Manda said in his deep voice. Of course, Orochimaru replied. I can't summon Katsuyu. I've wasted too much chakra driving them here, Tsunade replied, and Jiraiya nodded. Kuchios no Jutsu, Summoning Technique, Jiraiya said, and he too was enveloped in smoke. Seconds later he was standing on top of a very large orange toad. The toad was Gamabunta, the boss of the Toad Clan. Manda and Orochimaru, they are faces I haven't seen in a while, Gamabunta said as he released a cloud of smoke from his pipe. Let's end this, Jiraiya said, and Gamabunta dashed towards the snake with his sword drawn. Gamabunta quickly reached them and tried to stab Manda. Manda simply opened his jaw and caught the blade in it. Gamabunta squirmed to try and get his blade free, but it was in vain. Manda flexed his tail and tried to pierce Gamabunta, making him flip backwards and leaving the sword in Manda's mouth. Manda instantly began sliding towards Gamabunta and threw the sword back at him. Gamabunta jumped to the side to evade the blade, and the sword crashed into the ground, burying itself. You stay, Bachan. I'm going to help Ero Sennin, Naruto said, and jumped away from Tsunade, Shizen, and Hinata. What is he going to do? Tsunade asked. I don't know. He's very unpredictable, Hinata replied, and they shifted their attention towards the Titans' battle. Kuchios no Jutsu, Summoning Technique, Naruto yelled and slammed his hand on the ground. Manda and Gamabunta stopped their fighting to see just what exactly was coming to the battlefield. A big cloud of smoke rose from the ground, blocking everyone's view of Naruto. Suddenly the air was pushed back like a shockwave due to the air displacement, and everyone secured themselves not to get blown away. A massive roar erupted from the smoke that made the ground shook and the cloud of smoke to disperse. The figure was very big, almost twice the size of Gamabunta himself. It had orange fur, very sharp teeth and claws, blood-red eyes with a black slit, and 9 tails swinging freely in his back. After 14 years the Kyuubi was once again unleashed upon the mortal realm. KK Kyuubi. Jiraiya stuttered and paled at the sight of the monstrous figure in front of him. Everyone else was in shock as they never expected a Jinchuriki to summon their Bijou to a fight. Like the fresh air, Kurama? Naruto asked as he stood on top of Kurama's head. I do, it gives me a chance to stretch my legs, Kurama replied, showing his foxy grin. Everyone could feel the strong and oppressive chakra coming out from the Kyuubi's body. I like challenges and all, but this is ridiculous, Manda said, not really looking forward to fighting a Bijou and the Kyuubi of them all. Isn't the Kyuubi supposed to be, in the seal? Jiraiya tried to come up with the right words not to piss the Kyuubi off. It seems logic to me that I can summon the Kyuubi, Naruto said. When you store items in a storage scroll, the items are moved to a pocket dimension created by the scroll. The hack no Fuin Shiki, 8 trigram seal, does the same thing and creates a more advanced pocket dimension and a few other things. The summoning technique is a space-time technique, and with the Kyuubi being the boss summon of the Fox clan, what did you expect to come out? Naruto rhetorically asked as Jiraiya was trying to piece everything together. He never looked at storage seals that way, but it made sense. The items in the storage seal had to go somewhere. And since the chakra doesn't flow through my coils when I summon him, I don't die, Naruto explained, and Jiraiya dumbly nodded. Stand back, Naruto said, and Gamabunta jumped to the side. The Kyuubi was destructive without even trying, and he wouldn't want to be caught in the crossfire. Kurama, let's go, Naruto said, and both of them inhaled air into the lungs. Katan, fire stream, Kyuubi said, and expelled a stream of white-hot fire towards Manda. Futon Rankuden, vacuum wind bullet, Naruto said, and expelled wind bullets that mixed with Kurama's fire, turning them into hot bullets that would pierce and melt everything in their path. Manda engulfed by the fire, and the ground destroyed by Naruto's air bullets combined with Kurama's fire. The fire died down, and the only remains was a piece of skin, meaning Manda had slipped away from their attack. Naruto focused his senses and felt chakra signatures beneath the ground. They hid underground, Naruto said, and Kurama jumped back in time to avoid Manda's tail bursting through the ground trying to stab Kurama. Manda emerged completely and Kurama roared, making the ground burst into rubble and Manda being thrown back. Manda got up from the ground and coiled, getting ready to pounce. Kurama flexed his tails and tried to flatten the snake, but Manda managed to slide his way through all of Kurama's attempts. Each time Kurama smashed his tail, the entire field would shake from the power and pressure behind the swing. Manda rose up to bite him, but Kurama managed to swing a tail that hit Manda. However, instead of Manda being thrown back, the snake wrapped itself around Kurama's tail and tried to bite him again. Have a good lunch, Naruto said as 5 clones jumped into Manda's mouth. The clones instantly began to glow and exploded inside the snake's mouth. Manda fell to the ground with his jaw smoking. Damn brat, Manda hissed, couching or something similar. Goodbye, Snakey, Amaterasu, Naruto said and looked towards Manda's head, deep in concentration. Black flames erupted around Manda's head, and the snake dropped to the ground, rolling and hissing in pain. Orochimaru and Kabuto jumped away from his head and landed on the ground. Manda disappeared in smoke, meaning it went back his realm to heal. The snake disappeared, but the flames remained there, meaning Manda managed to get rid of them, which meant the snake was still alive. Kurama, end it, Naruto said and jumped out of his head. Okay, Kurama replied and brought all of his tails above his head. Red and blue chakra was seen floating in the air. Suddenly all the chakra bubbles condensed and formed a small perfect sphere. Kurama ate the chakra ball and Orochimaru raised an eyebrow. Bijudama, Kurama said, and a pure energy ball exploded from Kurama's mouth like a cannon, heading at high speed towards Orochimaru and Kabuto. Kabuto panicked and blurred through hand seals. He took a bit of Orochimaru's blood and slammed his hands in the ground. Kuchios, Sanjurashomen, Kabuto said, and 3 very large defensive structures rose from the ground and stood in the path of the tailed beast bomb. The energy sphere connected with the Rashomons and exploded in a tunnel of energy. The entire field shook and everyone just stood in awe at the power of the strongest Bijou. Doton Dorihiki, Earth Wall, Jiraiya said, and trapped himself along with everyone else inside an earth dome to survive the brutal and scorching winds unleashed by the attack. The energy eventually died down, and the dust started to settle down, clearing the view of everyone. It was very clear the difference between a 4-tailed Bijudama and a true bomb used by the Bijou. What was once a pretty plain field with grass and flowers was now nothing more than a desert without a sign of life for miles. Everything was eradicated, leaving nothing to be seen but emptiness. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the sight of the attack, and he could see Orochimaru squirming in the ground trying to get up, and Kabuto was nowhere to be seen, most likely vaporized. Unbelievable, Jiraiya said in disbelief as he dropped the stone wall and gaped at the sight. It was the second time he had seen a tailed beast bomb, and the results still shocked. Looks like it's the end, Tsunade said, looking at Naruto walking towards Orochimaru, who was in the ground in pain. His whole body was a mess with broken legs and the clothes scorched as well half of his face. This is the end, Orochimaru, Naruto said as he took the sword from his seal and channeled lightning chakra through it. Naruto was ready to cut the head of the snake and end it for good. And no, you can't kill me, I'm Orochimaru the Immortal, Orochimaru yelled in frustration as he looked towards Naruto and tried to crawl away. Stay away, Orochimaru said in fear. I never pegged you for a coward, Orochimaru, begging for your life, pathetic, Naruto said and brought his sword up to cleave his head for good. Naruto was about to cleave Orochimaru's head when Kabuto bursted from the ground with his fist closed. Naruto saw right through him and jumped back to avoid it. Naruto was jumping back and placed his hands on the ground. Golden chains erupted near Kabuto and pierced him through both of his shoulders and ankles, pinning him to the ground. Damn that Kabuto, always interrupting, Naruto said. Kabuto was in the ground, barely conscious, with blood dripping from his mouth. It looked like the tailed beast bomb did a fair amount of damage to him. Amaterasu, Naruto said, and Kabuto's body erupted in flames. Kabuto tried to shake them off, but the chains held him in place, and the only thing he could was scream until he was dead and nothing more than ashes on the ground. 5 seconds later, Yakushi Kabuto was no more. Damn brat, you will pay for what you've done! Orochimaru hissed and disappeared in smoke as the distraction had been enough for Orochimaru to shun Shin away to safety. Damn it, he got away! I had him, but his assistant had to interfere, Naruto yelled in frustration. Orochimaru invaded the leaf, tried to kill the Sandaime, and summoned his family to do his beating, and once again he got away. Don't worry, Naruto, at least we got his right-hand man, Jiraiya said, and Naruto sighed. There wasn't much more they could do. I guess, but next time he won't get away, Naruto said. I'm going, kid, Kurama said, and Naruto nodded. Thanks, Kurama, Naruto replied. This wasn't half bad. Let's go to hotel to rest and pack for the journey home, Tsunade said, and everyone nodded. After the battle, everyone was mostly fine except a few scratches and broken ribs, but nothing life-threatening. Chapter 30, Home at Last. Konoha. In the busy streets of Konoha we find 14 girls walking calmly and carelessly. All of them had bags on their hands, meaning they had been shopping. One of the girls had blonde hair tied in a ponytail and was wearing purple clothing. The other girl had an unusual hair color, pink. Her clothes were also of the same color. The last girl had black hair tied in 2 buns and brown eyes. She was wearing Chinese-style shirt with dark green pants. That was fun, Ino said to her friends. It had been a while since they managed to hang out all together. With all their team training, it was hard to snuggle a couple hours of fun all together. Yes. We haven't hanged out since the Chunin exams, Sakura replied. Sasuke-kun and Kiba were busy today, so I'm glad we took this chance, Sakura said. With Sasuke being constantly trained by Kakashi, and Kiba being trained by his clan, she sometimes felt out of place when with her team. Well, I normally don't have much trouble with my team. Shikamaru is a lazy ass, how he got promoted is beyond me, Ino said, shaking her head. And then there is Chuji, who is always eating. All they want is to be left alone, and Asuma-sensei doesn't give much work after team meetings, so I have plenty of free time, Ino happily said. Lucky you, my team is full of freaks, Tenten said, sighing. Guy-sensei and Lee are both freaks, always yelling about the flames of youth. I swear they could pass as father and son, Tenten said, shaking her head. At least there's Niji-kun, Tenten said, a bit happier now. Niji-kun, is it? Ino asked, teasing her friend. It was a known fact that Tenten didn't openly chase after boys, as she was more devoted to training. WWH what? Tenten asked, stuttering and trying to hide her blush. You have a crush on Niji, admit it, Sakura said, joining the fray. Fine, I like him, Tenten said, crossing her arms. Tell us more, Ino said, giddy, wanting some juicy details. Well, he's very cute and strong. I had a crush on him since the academy, but he was always a jerk, but since the Chunin's exams he's way better, Tenten said with stars in her eyes. I don't know, I just want to be around him, and since he forgot about that fate crap, and I enjoy his company even more, Tenten explained. Oh wait. Ino and Sakura fawned. They finally got to crack her shell. I guess I owe Hinata a thank you, Tenten said as she reflected on Niji's match against Hinata. And then there is Hinata and Naruto. Who would have figured out that the supposed dead last loudmouth would have hooked up with the supposed shy girl who had a crush on him? Ino said. They hid their relationship from everyone. Sakura said. All that time he kept pestering me for dates was nothing more than lies. Sakura said, sighing. Don't tell me you are going for Naruto now? Ino asked in disbelief. No, I'm faithful to my Sasuke-kun. Sakura instantly said. Your Sasuke-kun? Ino asked with a tick mark. Alright, girls. Tenten said before this could escalate, and they started bitch slapping each other in the middle of the street. But you got to admit, they make a cute couple. Tenten said. Hinata and Naruto made a very cute couple. Naruto was loud and Hinata was quiet. They were perfect for each other like yin and yang. They do. Sakura said, agreeing with her friend. Senju Hinata doesn't have a bad ring to it. Sakura said, smirking. Senju Naruto, head of the Senju clan. No wonder Sasuke-kun never got along with him. Sakura said, laughing. He's the talk of the village. He even has a fan club now. I heard he took down the Kazekage and 200 shinobi with a single jutsu. Tenten said, shocked that a genin could pull that off. He defeated that Sanbiju and then went to help Hokage-sama against Orochimaru. Tenten explained. She only met Naruto in the Chunin exams and he was the supposed dead last without any talent. I still don't believe that Naruto belongs to the most powerful clans in the world, the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan. Ino said, shaking her head. He's directly related to 3 of the 4 Hokages, and now his grandmother was named the 5th Hokage. Ino explained. She still couldn't believe that Naruto belonged to the Senju clan. Looks like all that yelling about becoming Hokage ran in his blood after all. Grandmother? Tenten asked. You don't know? Ino asked and Tenten shook her head. He's the grandson of Senju Tsunade. Ino explained and Tenten squealed like a fangirl. Really? Tenten asked with stars in her eyes. Yes. What's the big deal? Ino asked, not sure as to why Tenten would react in such way. Tenten scratched the back of head in shame of such reaction. She squealed like a fangirl. It's just, Tsunade-sama is my idol. I want to be strong like her. Tenten said and Ino nodded. Maybe you can ask Naruto to introduce you to her. Sakura explained. I'll ask him when they get back. Tenten replied, happy that her role model and idol was coming to the village again, and to be the 5th Hokage nonetheless. How about we hit the hot springs? Ino asked. All they had team training in the morning and after a few hours of shopping a nice bath would relax them. I agree, let's go. Sakura said and they all head towards the hot springs for a soothing bath. It was their luck that Jiraiya was out of town, not that he would peek on them. Konoha's North Gate 5 figures could be seen walking calmly through the wooded forest outside of Konoha. Well, 6 figures if you count the pig that was being carried in the arms of one of the figures. They were none other than Senju Tsunade, Kato Shizen, Jiraiya, Hyuga Hinata, Senju Naruto, and of course the pig Tonton. They had the same clothes except that Naruto now proudly displayed his new necklace. Naruto now had an emerald necklace on top of his black umbu chest plate. His necklace was glistening and reflecting the sun rays that escaped through the trees, making it shine. The necklace that once belonged to Senju Hashirama was now Naruto's possession. It is said that it was worth 3 mountains of gold. Although the necklace had very high value, he wore it because it belonged to his clan and grandfather. It was a family heirloom, so to speak. They arrived at the gates and checked in with the gate's eternal guards Kotetsu and Izumo. Jiraiya, Senju Naruto, and Hyuga Hinata returning from successful mission with Senju Tsunade and Kato Shizen. Jiraiya said, waking the guards from their slumber. Oink. And the pig Tonton. Jiraiya completed. It's good to see you again, Lady Tsunade. Kotetsu said. Tsunade hadn't been in the leaf in over 15 years. It's good to be back, I suppose. Tsunade replied and they continued walking. I guess I'm heading towards the Hokage Tower. Tsunade said. Alright, see you later, Bachan. Naruto said and started walking off when Tsunade called him back. Where are you going? Tsunade asked. Home, Naruto flatly replied. No, you are not. Tsunade said, crossing her arms. I'm not. Naruto asked, confused. No. You are coming to live with me in the Senju compound. Tsunade said and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Wasn't half of the Senju compound destroyed when the Kyuubi attacked? Naruto asked, confused. My bad, Kurama said and Naruto's sweat dropped at the casual response. Yes, but everything was rebuilt, someone answered. They all turned around to see Hiruzen walking towards them smoking on his pipe. Tsunade-chan, it's good to see again, Hiruzen said, hugging her old student, not that he would tell her she was old. He hadn't seen her or heard from her since the last time she was in the village, which was over 15 years ago. You too, sensei, Tsunade replied and stepped back, grabbing him by the collar. But you have a lot to explain, Tsunade said, almost growling. What are you talking about? Hiruzen asked, confused. She was being all nice and now she was glaring daggers at him. You sent a letter telling me that Naruto was dead, Tsunade said, fuming. No, I did not, Tsunade. You are mistaken, Hiruzen explained. How about we take this to the office? Jiraiya stressed as the conversation was starting to get loud. Fine, Tsunade said. Hokage's office. Explain, Tsunade-chan, Hiruzen said, trying to get to the end of this. I got a letter from you with your signature and stamp saying that Naruto didn't survive the attack, Tsunade explained, and Hiruzen sighed. I never sent you any letter. I tried to find you and even told Jiraiya to try and get a hold of you, Hiruzen explained, and Tsunade scoffed. Then how do you explain the letter? Tsunade asked. It was obviously fake. Do you still have it? Hiruzen asked, and Tsunade shook her head. Without it we will most likely never find the culprit, Hiruzen sighed. It doesn't matter anymore, Naruto said. I have her now and that's the only thing that matters, Naruto explained, and Hiruzen smiled. At least Naruto got some family back. By the way, Naruto-chan, you didn't answer about living with me? Tsunade asked. One condition, Naruto said, and Tsunade nodded for him to go on. Hinata-chan gets to live with us, Naruto said. Of course, but no funny business until you are older, Tsunade stressed, and they both blushed. Besides, it will make it easier for me to teach her if she's living with us, Tsunade explained, and Naruto nodded. Well then, it's decided. I'm going to pack then, Naruto said, and was about to walk off with Hinata when he was interrupted again. Too bad you can't go, Naruto-kun. You are the clan head of the Senju, remember? Hiruzen asked, and Naruto nodded. I'm summoning the council and as such, you must attend, Hiruzen explained, and Naruto paled. He never thought of that, and being a clan head made it mandatory to attend every council meeting. Fine, let's get this over with, Naruto replied and turned to Hinata. How about you go home and get started and I'll join you when this is over? Naruto asked. Might as well, see you later, Hinata replied and pecked his cheek before leaving. ANBU. Hiruzen called out, and an ANBU dropped from the ceiling, kneeling in front of him. Summon the council, Hiruzen ordered, and the ANBU vanished. Council meeting. Half an hour later, everyone was gathered at the council meeting. All of the clan heads were there, including the new head of the Uchiha clan, Sasuke. We are gathered here today so I can formally present my successor, again, Hiruzen said. I name Senju Tsunade as my successor to the place of Godame Hokage, Hiruzen stated, and waited for the council's reaction. I, Aburaim Shibi, head of the Aburaim clan, support the decision, Shibi said, getting up from his position and addressing the Hokage. I, Hyuga Hayashi, head of the Hyuga clan, support the decision, Hayashi said. I, Nara Shikaku, head of the Nara clan, support the decision, Shikaka said. I, Yamanaka Inoichi, head of the Yamanaka clan, support the decision, Inoichi said. I, Akimichi Choza, head of the Akimichi clan, support the decision, Choza said. I, Uchiha Sasuke, head of the Uchiha clan, support the decision, Sasuke said. I, Senju Naruto, head of the Senju clan, support the decision, Naruto said, giving thumbs up at his grandmother. I, Mitokado Hamura, personal advisor, support the decision, Hamura said. I, Udatain Koharu, personal advisor, support the decision, Koharu said. I, Shimura Danzo, personal advisor, reject the decision, Danzo said, but one paid much attention to him. I, Haruno Mabuki, head of the civilian council, support the decision, Mabuki said. 1. Then it's decided, the Hokage said, rising from his seat. Senju Tsunade, you are hereby appointed as Godame Hokage, Hiruzen said, handing her the hat. Thank you, sensei, Tsunade said, placing the hat on her head. Keep it warm for me, Naruto said, and everyone, minus Sasuke, who was too cool for that, chuckled at the comment. I promise that from now on I'll protect this village from all enemies, foreign or domestic, for I am Senju Tsunade, Godame Hokage, Tsunade said, and everyone bowed to the new Hokage. Everyone left the room soon after Tsunade's proclamation, and Naruto turned to the pervert who had been listening to the meeting without anyone knowing except Naruto, who was a censor. "Ero Senin," Naruto said, and Jiraiya stepped out from the shadows. "Are you busy?" Naruto asked. "I was planning on doing a bit of research, but what do you need?" Jiraiya asked. "I was planning on fixing Gaara's seal today, but I'll need your help since we will need to rebuild it completely," Naruto said, and Jiraiya nodded. He decided it was better to fix the seal now since Shikaka might be unleashed and destroy the hot springs. "Bachan, can we get a release form for the Sand siblings?" Naruto asked, and Tsunade turned to Hiruzen so they could catch up on the events. After half an hour of explanations, Tsunade turned to Naruto. "If you say they will behave, I see no harm." Tsunade explained and signed the necessary documents. "Here," Tsunade said, and threw him 3 Konoha Hittites. "Where will they be staying?" Naruto asked, and Tsunade pondered. "How well do you know this Gaara kid?" Tsunade asked. "I consider him a brother. He went through the same things as I did, all the hate the villagers threw at him," Naruto sadly said. "Well then, bring them to the Senju compound, there is more than enough space for them," Tsunade said. "Awesome, see you later," Naruto said and hugged Tsunade. "Let's go then," Jiraiya said, and both left the Hokage Tower heading towards the INT department. "Have you decided on the seal?" Jiraiya asked. "I think I'll use the same one I have, the 8 trigram seal," Naruto said, and Jiraiya nodded. His seal was one of the best around after all. INT department. Jiraiya and Naruto quickly arrived at the INT department, and easily got in, flashing the papers to the ANBU guarding the doors. They walked down the stairs until they reached the lower levels where the cells were. They walked past a few of them until they reached the last one where Gaara and his siblings were. "Hey Gaara! I'm back," Naruto said, waking up Temari and Kankuro from their sleep. "Uzumaki Naruto," Gaara said, looking at Naruto. "It's Senju Naruto now. I'm taking my family name." Naruto and Temari's eyes popped out of her sockets. "You are a Senju?" Temari asked with her eyes wide as saucers. "Yup," Naruto replied and mentioned the ANBU to unlock the cell. "But you have the Sharingan," Temari refuted. "I belong to both the Uchiha and Senju clan, but I chose the Senju name," Naruto explained, and the ANBU unshackled Gaara. "Where's Baki?" Naruto asked. "He already was released and went back to Suna. We decided to stay with Gaara until he was released," Temari explained, and Naruto nodded. "Let's go, Gaara, we are taking care of you, seal," Naruto said, and Gaara stared at him. "What?" Naruto rhetorically asked. "I promised I would take care of the seal, and I always keep my promises," Naruto explained, and Gaara slowly nodded. "Where are we doing this?" Jiraiya asked. "At the Namikaze compound. My father has a room in the basement completely filled with seals that block everything. That is where I trained using the Kyuubi's chakra, otherwise the village would riot when they felt the chakra," Naruto explained, and Jiraiya nodded. "Namikaze, don't tell me the Yondaime was your father?" Kankuro asked, and Naruto nodded, confused. "I guess you didn't hear the news. I tell you everything later," Naruto explained, tossing them the Hittites. They quickly threw the Suna's ones away and placed the new ones. "Congratulations, as of now you are all Genin of the Leaf," Naruto said, chuckling, while Kankuro growled at being Genin. Namikaze's house. All of them arrived at front gates, and Naruto swiped his finger to unlock the seals. They all entered the house to find Hinata running around with a few shadow clones packing the most important stuff. "Hey Hinata-chan, want some clones to help?" Naruto asked. "Sure," Hinata replied, and Naruto made 10 shadow clones. Each clone grabbed one Hinata and kissed her before going to work. Jiraiya never saw so much action in the same place, and started scribbling furiously in his notebook. "This way," the original Naruto said, and led them all to the basement and into some room. They opened the door and all of them stepped inside. It was a large round room, at least 10 meters wide. The walls were littered with seals, and in the middle of the floor was a kanji circle with the most complex seals around it anyone had ever seen. "Stay here, and don't interfere," Naruto seriously said to Temari and Kankuro, who gulped and quickly nodded. "Gaara, remove your shirt and lie down in the center of the circle," Naruto explained, and Gaara did as he was told. "Do you want the new seal in any special place?" Naruto asked, and Gaara nodded. "Can I have it in the stomach like you?" Gaara asked, and Naruto nodded. "Ready, Gaki?" Jiraiya asked, and Naruto nodded. Naruto placed his hand on Gaara's stomach and channeled chakra, converting it to ink. The ink erupted from his hand and spread through Gaara's stomach. Hack no Furin Shiki 8 trigram seal, Naruto said, and all the kanji started slithering into a focus point. The ink started to spin around Naruto's hand and started forming a spiral. Soon after, the spiral was formed and remains of the ink formed scribblings around the spiral, finalizing the seal. The easy part is done, Naruto said as he completed the new seal. Now all they needed to do is crack the old seal and switch Shikaku into the new seal. You hold the old seal while I transfer Shikaku over to the new one, Naruto said, and Jiraiya nodded. At the sidelines, Kankuro could only gulp when he heard Naruto saying he was going to switch Shikaku between seals. What if he escapes? Kankuro thought, scared out of his wits. Naruto already defeated once, he can do it again, I hope. Kankuro thought as Naruto was preparing for the final procedure. This might feel a little uncomfortable, Jiraiya said, and channeled a great amount of chakra into his 3-element seal, completely shattering it. Shikaku's chakra instantly started bubbling, but Jiraiya managed to keep it contained around Gaara's neck. Do it, Jiraiya said, and Naruto placed one hand on Gaara's neck and another on his stomach, and he began transferring the chakra to the new seal. Furin seal, Naruto said, and funneled all of Shikaku's chakra into the new seal. The procedure only took about 5 minutes since he only had to shift it and not remove it. Naruto finalized the chakra transfer by closing the seal and transferring the key over to Gaara while explaining the works of the new seal. It's done, Naruto said, and both Kankuro and Temari rushed towards Gaara, who was now sleeping peacefully. He's sleeping, Temari said. Of course he is, Naruto said, getting up. The seal he has is the same as mine, and it was developed by my father, Naruto explained. He hasn't slept since he was born, Temari said, caressing her brother's face. He seemed so peaceful in his sleep. Thank you, Temari said, and hugged Naruto while Kankuro patted his back. You are welcome, Naruto said. Take him to the Senju compound. My grandmother said you guys are welcome to stay there with us, Naruto said, and they nodded. I'm off, Jiraiya said, and disappeared in a poof of smoke. Damn pervert, Naruto muttered under his breath and led everyone out of the house. He gave Temari and Kankuro directions towards the Senju compound since he now had another pervert to look for. See you guys later, Naruto said, and activating his EMS and swirling away. Damn, that was awesome, Kankuro said. Memorial Stone. Kakashi was once drowning himself on regret at the Memorial Stone. Even after Naruto had told him that he should put the past where it belonged, it seemed that he still couldn't. Kakashi was lost on his thoughts when he noticed a small swirl appear next to him. He instantly knew who it was as the swirl was very distinctive. Yo Naruto, Kakashi said, greeting him. You're still here, Naruto said as he stood in front of the Memorial Stone and did a quick prayer in honor of the deceased souls. Yes, I am, Kakashi simply said, and ended it there. I know what happened since you told me, but is it really for the best to pity yourself so much? I know you regret not being there for them, but you have to let go, Naruto said, and Kakashi sighed. Easier said than done, Kakashi said. So what brings you here? Kakashi said, trying to change the mood as he didn't particularly want to talk about them. I have the seal for your Sharingan, Naruto said, and Kakashi raised an eyebrow. Really? Kakashi asked, surprised, to which Naruto nodded. So what do I need to do? Kakashi asked. Nothing, just sit down since you are taller than me, Naruto said, and Kakashi chuckled and sat down on the ground. Don't you need Jiraiya's help? Kakashi asked. He's busy, Naruto replied as he thought of what the pervert was currently doing. Shinaro, a voice echoed through the whole village, but it seemed to originate at the hot springs. Naruto looked up at the sky and managed to see a mop of spiky white hair flying while crying anime tears. He never learns, Naruto thought, sighing. Close your eye while I draw the seal, Naruto said, and Kakashi did as he was told. He removed his Hitayat and kept his Sharingan eye closed. Naruto placed 2 fingers on his left temple and started leaking the kanji. The seal twisted itself around his eyeball in a swirl pattern above his eyelid. Furin seal, Naruto said, and the seal glowed momentarily before cutting all the chakra into his eye, transforming into a pitch black eye that coincidentally matched his other one. How does it feel to see color with both eyes? Naruto asked as Kakashi gently rubbed his eye to get rid of a small itch. It works, Kakashi said in fascination. The eye is no longer draining my chakra and I can see perfectly, Kakashi said, standing up. Good, now let's try and activate the Sharingan. Channel chakra the seal on your left eyelid and he should activate, Naruto said. Kakashi channeled a small amount of chakra to the seal to deactivate it, and the Sharingan flared to life. Naruto tried to punch Kakashi very fast and out of nowhere, but Kakashi managed to predict it. Good, seems that Sharingan is working properly, Naruto said and activated his own Sharingan to analyze the seal's interaction with Kakashi's chakra network. Naruto noticed that Kakashi's chakra coils behind his eyes were abnormally large. Your eyes' chakra coils are extremely well developed. They come close to matching mine, Naruto said out loud. It's no surprise, the Sharingan has been active for years, Kakashi said, shrugging his shoulders, but Naruto didn't think just that would affect it so much. Rin sacrificed herself, forcing me to kill her, Naruto remembered when he talked about Kakashi's teammates. Kurama, do you think it's possible for a non-Uchiha to awaken the Manjikyu? Naruto asked his partner. It's a good question. The activation of the Manjikyu affects the body as a whole, and for someone who isn't an Uchiha is difficult to say, Kurama replied, and Naruto brought his hand to his chin. Kakashi-sensei, can you do me a favor and channel more chakra into your eye? Naruto asked, and Kakashi shrugged his shoulders and did just that. His Sharingan eye started glowing and spinning and seemed to want to start merging its kamas. A bit more, Naruto said, and Kakashi channeled more chakra into his eyes. Slowly but surely the Sharingan started spinning and the kamas started stretching and fusing together. Just as I thought, Naruto said, looking at Kakashi's Sharingan, who had turned into a Manjikyu. Is something wrong? Kakashi asked, slightly scared that he would lose the only thing that connected him to Obito. You have a Manjikyu, Naruto said, and Kakashi's jaw dropped. Kakashi calmed himself and noticed that his perception with the Sharingan had increased. He now could see further and with more detail. How is it possible? Kakashi asked, confused. Well, it's obviously a half-blood Manjikyu, but it's one nonetheless. I didn't think it was possible for a non-Uchiha to awaken it, Naruto explained, and they both headed towards a nearby lake so Kakashi could take a look at his new eye. Looks like you got a brand new tool, Naruto said, chuckling at Kakashi, who was gapping like a fish. What can it do? Kakashi suddenly asked. He seemed like a kid on a sugar rush. Each Manjikyu has its own abilities. I know how to use 3 of them and I can teach you them, but if you can use them depends on your eye, Naruto explained, and Kakashi nodded. Another thing, these techniques require much more chakra than the standard Sharingan, Naruto said, and Kakashi nodded. Also, and this is very important, Naruto said with a serious tone. You belong to a half-blood, which means the more you use your Manjikyu, the more your sight is affected, so you should leave it as a last resort, Naruto said, and Kakashi nodded, making a mental note on the implications of using his new eye. I can start teaching you now, or are you busy? Naruto asked, but Kakashi shook his head, getting ready to try his new eye. Let's begin with Kamui. Sundown, Senju compound. Naruto and Kakashi had spent the rest of the afternoon practicing their eyes. Naruto was using his Manjikyu and constantly spamming Amaterasu to further increase his power while reducing the cast time. All the while he was also teaching Kakashi how to use the powers. Of all the 3 powers that Naruto had, Kakashi only managed to learn Naruto's Kamui, and that was only partially. Kakashi could activate his Kamui to send objects to his own dimension but couldn't send his own body. Naruto quickly theorized that he needed both eyes to be able to dematerialize his body. Naruto explained Kakashi that he used his left eye for long-range Kamuis while he used his right eye for making himself intangible and close-range Kamuis. Based on these facts, it looked like Kakashi had received the long-range eye. In the end, it didn't matter. Kakashi had still received a very powerful gift, but this one was meant only for killing. Kakashi could transport objects into his dimension, but somehow he couldn't bring them back. Anything that was transported to his dimension would remain there for all eternity. 2. Naruto channeled the remains of his chakra and used his Kamui to go towards the Senju compound. When you spend half a day spamming Amaterasus, you tend to exhaust yourself. At least he got his control better using the black flames. Naruto arrived near the compound gate and stayed there, astonished at the sheer magnitude of the place. The damn compound seemed to go on forever. He never thought that the compounds were this big. Sure, he had seen them on the outside, but standing inside one really placed things in perspective. Oh, Naruto-kun, Shizen said as she watched Naruto arrive and went to greet him. This place is huge, Naruto said, and Shizen giggled at his childish reaction. Yes, it is. When the village was founded, the Senju clan was on his prime and had many members, Shizen said. This compound has almost 100 rooms, not including bathrooms, storage rooms, and training grounds. Shizen explained, and Naruto's eyes widened. 100 rooms, it's bigger than the Uchiha and Hyuga compound. Naruto thought, observing the buildings around them. Come on, Shizen said, motioning him to follow her. We will be all staying in the main house that is large enough for all of us. I'll take you on a tour, Shizen said, and Naruto followed. Naruto followed Shizen, and she did a quick tour around the main house. It was a simple traditional house made of wood. It had 2 floors and a basement. The main house had 10 rooms, 4 bathrooms, and a very large library. Library? I'm checking it out, I'll meet you later, Naruto said, blurring away from Shizen and heading into the library. Shizen giggled at him as he watched him run towards the library. The library was very large and was filled with scrolls. Naruto was pretty much drooling at the prospect of being able to learn so many jutsus. Naruto-kun, Hinata said, and Naruto turned around to see his beautiful girlfriend at the library's entrance. Can you believe how many jutsus are here? Naruto said to Hinata, who giggled at his reaction. He was always a sucker for learning new jutsu so he could blow stuff up. By the way, did you destroy the space bridge at the house? Naruto asked. His clones didn't know anything about it, and Naruto was wondering if Hinata had destroyed the seal at his house that allowed him to walk into the Namake's compound. I did, don't worry, Hinata replied. Space bridge? A new voice asked, and Naruto turned around to see Tsunade walking towards them. Yes, it's like a portal of some sorts that I created, and that allows, once activated, to simply walk through the portal and end up at the destination, Naruto explained. In my case, I created one that allowed me to go from my house to the Namake's house and back simply by walking through the portal, Naruto said, and Tsunade hummed in thought. Can anyone use it? Tsunade asked. She was already thinking of the applications of such useful device. It was key to Mai and Hinata's blood, but it can be made for anyone. Why do you ask? Naruto asked. Because maybe you could place one that connected the Senju compound to the Hokage tower so I didn't have to walk all the way there, Tsunade explained. I don't exactly have space-time techniques like you, Tsunade said, scoffing at the other blonde. Of course, Ba-chan, I'll do it tomorrow, Naruto said, and Tsunade left along with Hinata, leaving Naruto to drown himself on jutsu scrolls. 30 minutes later, Naruto had spent half an hour skimming through the scrolls trying to learn something new. After all that time, he came of the library scowling the whole Senju clan and muttering profanities against them. In whole library he could only find jutsus related to earth and water jutsus. In almost 100 jutsus he didn't find any fire or lightning ones. He sighed and walked out of the library and went exploring the rest of the house. Naruto-chan, Naruto heard Tsunade calling out. Come to the kitchen for dinner. Naruto was happy. He never had anyone calling him for dinner except Hinata. Naruto ran through the halls with his Kamui phasing through the walls so he could reach it faster. Naruto arrived at the kitchen and saw everyone sighted and waiting for him. There was Shizen, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Hinata, and of course the Sand siblings. He walked calmly towards the table and sat down to eat. He was finally home, with his family. Chapter 31, Fire Lord. Valley of the End. The Valley of the End. The place of the final showdown between Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. The place where Madara died and Hashirama emerged victorious. Or so everyone thinks. The valley remained pretty much untouched since the fight, except for the addition of 2 gigantic statues. They represent the 2 fighters whose power could bring any country to its knees. They symbolize and honor those 2 legendary figures that left their mark in history. The statues of Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, each one doing the battle seal as if until this day they were still battling each other. On top of Uchiha Madara's head we find someone sitting there. The wind carried his cloak, allowing everyone to see his clothes. He wore a black long-sleeve top that also covered his neck and chin, a pair of black gloves, and a pair of dark-colored pants. On his waist he wore a thick black belt with armor-like metal plates attached to it. He also wore blue nail polish on his fingers and toes. But from all that, the most distinguishing feature he had was a strange mask he wore. The mask was strong orange in color, and had a spiral pattern with a single hole for his right eye. The cloak itself was a high-colored black cloak with red clouds adorning it. The cloak pretty much said that this someone belonged to the mercenary group known as Akatsuki who, according to Jiraiya, were searching for the Bija. The figure seemed to be deep in thought, as anyone could see. He was gazing into the emptiness of the sky as if trying to find the meaning of life. Flashback, the same figure was seen walking through some cave in some unknown location. The figure stopped walking when he noticed two other figures approaching him. The first one had spiky orange hair with multiple metal piercings in his nose, ears and bottom lip, but what stood out were his eyes, silver eyes with concentric circles around the pupil. He was wearing the same black cloak with red clouds. The other figure was definitely female. She had blue hair, amber-colored eyes, lavender eyeshadow, and elaborate piercing. In her hair she had a paper flower strapped to it. She was also wearing the same cloak as the other figure. "We need to talk, Madara," the orange spiky-haired figure said, watching very closely the figure with the orange mask. "Of course, Pain. Toby is a good boy," Toby said in a childish, almost high-pitched voice. "Enough with playing around," Pain said in a serious voice, making Toby instantly drop his childish ways and took a completely different stance. "We have some information that you forget to tell us," Pain explained. "And what is it?" Toby asked, but now his voice was more deep and serious. "Kisame and Itachi went to scout the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and heard the most interesting news," Pain cryptically said. "Don't play games with me and get to the point," Toby said. He didn't want to deal with Pain right now. "For starters, the Kyuubi claims to be Uchiha Madara's grandson," Pain said, and Toby's eyes widened. "Your grandson, to be exact," Pain said, looking at Toby directly in his eye, waiting for his answer. "And what proof does he have of that?" Toby asked, trying to gain some time while his mind was running a mile per second trying to figure just what was happening. "The fact that he is an uncounted Sharingan user seems to help," Pain said in a monotone voice. "How very interesting. If that brat has a Sharingan, that could only mean that it came from Minato, as Kushina's family is very well documented," Toby mused in thought. "That would explain how back then he knew I wasn't Madara," Toby concluded in complete shock. Even during his fight 14 years ago, he never felt or saw Minato's Sharingan. "That means I'm responsible for killing his only son," Toby unconsciously gulped. He hoped that Madara wasn't very attached to Minato, otherwise he would draw the short end of the stick. "This will require some adjustments," Toby thought. "Care to explain?" Pain stressed out, leaking a bit of killing intent to further drive his point. "This doesn't concern you," Toby flatly replied. "Madara," Pain stressed. "He has a Manjikyu and nearly killed both Kisame and Itachi, but they managed to escape," Pain explained. "Everything was going so well," Toby thought, sighing to himself. "And the brat has a Manjikyu and was strong enough to drive Itachi away, serves him right," Toby thought, chuckling to himself. "I see," Toby said, still thinking about everything. If Madara had told him about his grandson, he would be able to mold him into his weapon, even better as his grandson was the Jinchuriki of the strongest Bijou. "Anything else?" Toby asked. "Yes, he seems to have the same intangibility ability as you," Pain asked, and Toby was once again shocked. The brat was able to use Kamui. This would be a major setback, since any time an Akatsuki member appears he can warp away safely. "That will make him extremely difficult to capture," Toby said, shaking his head. "He should have stayed in bed like a good boy." "I want answers, Madara," Pain said with his voice slightly louder. "I don't answer to you, you work for me, you would do well to remember," Toby said with a smirk and his Sharingan glowing. "But I'll get to the end of this," Toby said, and swirled away, leaving a fuming Pain and the woman stoic at the encounter. "I don't like this," the woman said, breaking her stoic face with one of suspicion. "What proof do we have that he's even Madara?" the woman asked. "Everything matches Konan, his power, his knowledge, and his grandson bears the same Sharingan ability," Pain stated, but that didn't seem to ease Konan's doubts and worries. "Let's forget this for now. Let's focus on our current task and the preparations for hunting down the Bijou," Pain said, and both left the cave. End flashback. Toby was knocked out of his thoughts when he sensed someone approaching. Although he knew very well who was approaching, he didn't let his guard down. A popular saying came to mind. "There is no honor among thieves." Just because the approaching figure was his subordinate and belonged to the Akatsuki group, it doesn't mean he should be trusted. The figure was a tall, tanned, muscular man. He wore a white hood and a black mask, with his eyes being the only visible part of his face. Underneath, his mouth was stitched together at the edges, and he had long dark brown hair. His eyes had an unusual coloring, green irises, no pupils, and red sclera. His clothing included the traditional Akatsuki cloak and the forehead protector of his home village with a scratch in the middle which symbolized that he was no longer loyal to it. He also wore dark red nail polish, and his dark green Akatsuki ring with the kanji for north was placed on his left middle finger. His entire body was covered with various stitches and predominantly appeared to be sewn together. He was Kakuzu, an S-rank missing nin from Takigakure as displayed by his scratched Hitayat. Is everything set? Do you have the sacrifices? Toby asked. Yes, they are ready for leader to perform the technique, Kakuzu explained sitting down next to Toby in the cliff. How do you know he'll tag along for the mission? Kakuzu asked. You forget that Zetsu has spies everywhere. His spy network puts even Jiraiya's to shame, Toby explained with a smirk. Zetsu was a member of the Akatsuki, however he wasn't the fighting type and was more the intelligence-gathering one. Fair enough, Kakuzu said agreeing with Toby. Do you remember your primary objective? Toby asked. Failure is not an option, he's crucial to my plans, Toby pointed out. I don't know why you need him, but who am I to question that? How hard can it be? Kakuzu rhetorically asked. But how can you be sure he'll go along with it? Kakuzu asked. It's not as if his objective was hard to accomplish, but it was very tricky. There's a reason why pride is a sin. With the right incentive it makes people malleable, Toby cryptically said, watching the skies. What about the secondary objective? Kakuzu asked. The funds are always good for the Akatsuki and his chakra would also benefit our plans as a backup, Toby explained. Meaning, don't fail either, Toby said, leaking out killing intent. I've never failed a mission, Kakuzu said in a strong and firm voice. I'll be watching, Toby said, swirling away. Let's get the show on the road, Kakuzu said, getting up and heading towards the midst of the fire country. Konoha Senju compound. 12 hours earlier it was a beautiful day in Konoha. It was warm and sunny all over. The sun was coming up shining upon Konoha as the merchants were opening their stores to start up a fresh new day. A few sunrays broke through the village's barrier and started waking up people inside the houses. This was the unfortunate event for Naruto. The room was dark and a few beams passed through the window and hit him right in the eyes, waking him up from his slumber. He released a small yawn and tried to shift in bed but realized that he couldn't move. He looked down and smiled at his princess snuggled next to him, resting her head in his shoulder. One of the things he enjoyed most was waking up with Hinata next to him, feeling her warmth against his body, caressing her soft hair. They hadn't had much time alone in the last 2 weeks with his pervert of a godfather hanging around. While he was caressing her hair, she started to stir and slightly opened her eyes. She noticed that Naruto was looking at her with a warm smile. She returned the smile just before she closed her eyes again and placed her head on his chest, releasing a sigh of bliss and happiness. They stayed there for a few minutes just enjoying the warmth of each other, both happy they had each other in their lives. How do you like our new room? Naruto softly asked, still running his hands through her hair. He noticed that even though her hair was a mess from sleeping, she still looked beautiful to him, perhaps even more. The room itself wasn't overly large, but it was sufficient for a couple. The bed was obviously for 2 persons. They had a nightstand on each side. A closet was embedded in the wooden wall with enough space for all their clothes. Their room also had a private bathroom and small room they decided to use for scrolls and weapons. I guess it's okay. The pillow is still the same though, Hinata said, giggling, and Naruto chuckled. The pillow in this case would either be his chest or shoulder, since Hinata usually would wake up resting her head in one of them. You know we have to get up, Naruto sadly said. I don't want to. 5 more minutes. Hinata cutely pouted, drawing circles in his chest, trying to persuade him to sleep and cuddle a bit more. How about I get a shadow clone to bring us breakfast to bed? Naruto asked, and Hinata quickly nodded. She was about to reply when Naruto placed a finger in her soft lips. Breakfast for a kiss, Naruto said, and Hinata quickly replied, giving him a passionate kiss. That will do, Naruto said, chuckling, and made a shadow clone to prepare the breakfast so they could eat together. Not even 5 minutes later, Naruto's clone appeared in the room with a tray filled with juice, bread, and some fruit. Naruto sat up and easily placed Hinata between his legs with her back to his chest. They happily ate their breakfast since they didn't have any major concerns. They didn't have anything scheduled for today, and as such they could enjoy the day, or maybe get a mission. So what do you want to do today? Naruto asked while smearing some butter on bread and starting to eat it. Don't really know. Do you want to get a mission or something? Hinata asked while drinking some orange juice. Naruto pondered getting a mission, but then he remembered that they were both Chunins and, as such, their sensei Kurenai would be no more. We are both Chunin, so Kurenai is no longer our sensei, Naruto explained, and Hinata realized that what Naruto said was true. Right after the Chunin's exams and promotions, they both left on a mission, so they didn't realize that Team 8 was no more. What now? Hinata asked, and Naruto shrugged his shoulders. How about we swing by Bachan's office to find out? Naruto said and looked towards the clock in the nightstand. It's past 10 o'clock, so Bachan should already be in her office. Damn, we really overslept, Naruto said, chuckling. They weren't used to sleeping in as they had team meetings before. I didn't mind, Hinata innocently replied. I bet you didn't, Naruto tried to say with a serious face but laughed nonetheless. They finished their breakfast and Naruto made another shadow clone to take the stuff to the kitchen while all the way muttering something about lucky originals. Let's get up, Naruto said and was about to get up when Hinata shifted her weight and ended on top of him, pinning him to the bed. We aren't going anywhere, Hinata said, giggling like a mad person that made poor Naruto shiver. What are you going to do now? Hinata teased. Naruto smirked before his eyes flashed to his EMS and activated his Kamui. He phased right through the bed and reappeared in the middle of the room with a smirk. That's not fair, Hinata said, throwing him a pillow that phased through him as well, making Hinata pout. All is fair in love and war, Naruto wisely said, and Hinata stared at him. She sighed and got out of bed. They both got dressed and left the Senju compound, heading towards the Hokage's office. They needed to find their status as of now. Hokage's office. Naruto and Hinata made their way towards the Hokage tower and up the stairs. They reached the office's entrance to see Shizen by the desk. Shizen-chan, you are Bachan's secretary now? Naruto asked, and she nodded, going through paperwork. Poor you, Naruto said, chuckling. Is Bachan busy? Naruto asked. No. You can go ahead, Shizen said, stamping another paper and placing it in a nearby stack. Naruto and Hinata walked up to the door and entered to see Tsunade buried in paperwork with Hiruzen nearby smoking his pipe without a care in the world. It looked like Hiruzen left the paperwork build up when he asked Jiraiya to go search for Tsunade. Hiruzen would have liked to read his Aika book, but it might prove dangerous with Tsunade nearby. Morning, Bachan, old man, Naruto said, greeting his grandmother and the old Hokage. Tsunade looked up from all the paperwork. No noticed Naruto and Hinata standing in front of her. Hey Naru-chan, Hinata, Tsunade said, and Naruto sighed. He couldn't get his grandmother from calling him that. On the other hand, Naruto called her Bachan, meaning she would be old, which she didn't like, so it was an eye for an eye. What brings you to my nightmare? Tsunade asked, and Naruto pondered, telling her about shadow clones but decided to hold it for later as a trump card. I'm evil, Naruto thought, chuckling darkly to himself. Actually, we are wondering what will happen to us since we are both Chunins and currently without a team, Naruto said, and Tsunade stopped her work. She brought her hand to her chin, deep in thought. For starters, Aburame Shino didn't get promoted to Chunin and, as such, he was placed on Team 10 with Yamanaka Ino and Akimichi Tsuji under Saratobi Asuma, Tsunade explained before picking another paper. Regarding Team 7 under Hatake Kakashi, they will be on hold until we find a genin to complete the cell. In the meantime, Uchiha Sasuke will still be part of said team when not on Chunin's affairs, Tsunade said, and both nodded. Team 9, Guy's team, didn't get promoted, so they would continue on standard mission like the new Team 10. That means our old team is permanently disabled, Hinata said. What about Kurenai-sensei? Hinata asked. She will be returning to her normal life as Jounin until she decides to take another genin team, Tsunade explained, and Hinata nodded. Without a genin team, Kurenai would most likely be more time away from the village. What about us? Naruto asked. I was getting to that, Tsunade started. Both of you will most likely be paired with other Chunin or Jounin for missions until we find a stable team, if any, Tsunade explained, and both nodded. What about Gaara and his siblings? Naruto asked, and Tsunade got a tick mark from all the questions preventing her from doing her work and enjoying her sake. They are Team 11 under Mitarashi Anko since Temari relies on her fan and Kankuro on his puppet and poisons, Tsunade explained. I just hope she doesn't turn Gaara back to his crazy state. I kind of feel sorry for them. Perhaps killing them would have been more merciful, Naruto thought, shivering at his previous encounters with the crazy snake lady. Do you want to grab a mission while we are here? Naruto turned and asked Hinata. We don't have anything planned, might as well, Hinata replied, and Naruto agreed, pumping his fist into the air. Mission it is. Bachan, do you have any mission for us? Naruto asked, and Tsunade shook her head in defeat. She was buried in paperwork and had yet to decide on the newer teams. I guess I will just pick up the new Chunins and place them together, Tsunade thought before shifting through the papers, pulling out the newer promotions. Shizen, Tsunade called out. Yes, Tsunade-sama? Shizen asked, entering the office. Get me Naruto Shikamaru and Uchiha Sasuke, Tsunade said, and Shizen left to summon both shinobi to her office. What do you need those two for? Naruto asked, but he already had a suspicion. They will be your teammates for the next mission. Tsunade and Naruto sighed. Hiruzen cringed slightly because he knew the history behind those two. I hope Sasuke doesn't give much trouble, Naruto muttered under his breath. What was that? Tsunade asked as she didn't hear Naruto. It's just that Sasuke and me don't get along, Naruto simply said. Oh, my little Naruto-chan is acting like a senju, he already hates the Uchihas, Tsunade said, wiping out a fake tear. Hiruzen and Hinata chuckled and Naruto shook his head at his grandmother's antics. By the way, you are both in the newest edition of the bingo book, Hiruzen said, throwing him the book. Really? Naruto rhetorically asked, opening the book. Let me guess, IWA, Naruto said, and Hiruzen sadly nodded. Congratulations, you both have targets on your heads now, Tsunade said with sarcasm evident in her voice. Pages 112 and 113, Hiruzen said, and Naruto quickly found his record. Name, Senju Naruto. Age, 14. Alias, Konoha no Raijin, Konoha's Thunder God. Status, Elite Chunin Village. Affiliation, Kanahigaku no Sato, Hidden Leaf Village. Rank, S. Bloodline. Sharingan known elemental affinities, wind, fire, lightning weapons, Uchiha Madara's gun by. It's a wide fan with 3 blood-red tomos on each side. It has a long handle with bandages wrapped around the base. The main part of the weapon is light brown with the edges being black. Abilities, Taijutsu, Jounin/Kage level Ninjutsu, Kage level Fuinjutsu, Seal Master Genjutsu, Chunin/Jounin level Summoning Contract. Fox, Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko. Other known abilities. Senju Naruto was seen performing both the Rasengan, A rank, and Hiroshin no Jutsu, S rank, techniques created by Yondaime Hokage. Also has the ability to transform his chakra into golden chains strong enough to hold Shikaku in place. Physical description, stands at 5 feet 7 inches with long mid-back blonde spiky hair, which partially covers right eye, and deep blue eyes with 3 whisker marks on each cheek. Usually wears orange pants and dark blue combat sandals. He also wears skin-tight black shirt with umbu chest plate over it. Known relationships, Uchiha Madara, paternal grandfather status, deceased Namikaze Minato, father status, deceased Senju Kushina, mother status, deceased Senju Tsunade, maternal grandmother status, Godame Hokage Hyuga Hinata, rumored girlfriend status, Chunin, see next page. Bounties, IWA, wanted alive 50 million Ryosuna and Oto. Wanted dead or alive 10 million Ryo. Approach with extreme caution. Damn, they are well informed, Naruto said after reading his page. Although I like my alias. Konoha no Raijin has a nice ring to it, Naruto said, chuckling, and handed the book over to Hinata. You do realize you just made enemies from 3 villages, Tsunade said with a serious voice. I know, though I wonder why IWA wants me alive, Naruto mused out loud. Probably so they can skin you, Hiruzen said, chuckling, making Naruto glare at the old man. What about you, Hina-chan? Naruto asked, and Hinata looked up from the book and showed it to him. Name, Hyuga Hinata. Age, 14. Alias, Shirno Megami, Death Goddess. Status, Chunin Village. Affiliation, Kanahigaku no Sato, Hidden Leaf Village. Rank, A Bloodline, Byakugan known elemental affinities, wind, water weapons, twin trench knives. Abilities, Taijutsu, Kage level, unknown technique that kills the enemy with a single touch. Ninjutsu, Jounin level, very skilled in water manipulation. Fuinjutsu, unknown. Genjutsu, unknown. Summoning Contract, unknown. Other known abilities, known to be able to disable. Jinchuriki with some sealed technique. Uses weapons coated with deadly poisons. Physical description, stands at 5 feet 4 inches with Heimcut styled dark blue hair and Byakugan eyes. She wears a cream-colored hooded jacket with fur around the cuffs and hem, with navy blue pants. Known relationships, Hyuga Hana, mother status, deceased Hyuga Hayashi, father status, Jounin, Hyuga clan head Hyuga Hanabi, younger sister status, academy student Senju Naruto, rumored boyfriend status, elite Chunin, see previous page. Bounties, Suna and Oto, wanted dead or alive 5 million Ryodon. Approach if below high Jounin level. Do not engage in taijutsu. I like my alias better, Hinata happily said, handing the book to Naruto. Sure no Megami. Naruto said and hugged Hinata. I guess I can't call you princess anymore, Naruto whispered and kissed her. Cough. Tsunade faked a cough and cleared her throat to separate the couple before this could escalate. Yes, you will have to be extra careful with bounty hunters as of now, Tsunade said. Even the lowest bounty of 5 million ryo is enough to attract a lot of attention, Tsunade explained. Yes, but I'm ranked as a Kage-level shinobi and Hinata as an elite jounin one. We won't go down easy, Naruto said, and Tsunade shook her head. Idiot, don't let the fame get to your head, Tsunade said, and Naruto waved his hands in defeat, not wanting to be punched. Knock knock, come in, Tsunade said, shifting her attention to the door. The door opened, and in came the brooding Uchiha Sasuke and the lazy-ass Naruto Shikamaru. They were both wearing the Chunin flak jacket and Umbu black pants. You called Hokage-sama, Shikamaru said, yawning. It was supposed to be a peaceful day for Shikamaru, but the Hokage had different plans for him. Yes, I have a mission for the 4 of you, Tsunade said. It will be a B rank, maybe A rank depending on the opposition, Tsunade explained, and they all nodded. Naruto-chan, you will be the team leader since you hold higher rank, Tsunade explained. And no, don't call me that in public, Naruto pleaded, and even the almighty Sasuke snickered. You see, you even made the emo brooding king laugh, Naruto stated, glaring at his grandmother. You have a problem, Naruto-chan? Sasuke said in a teasing tone. Shut up, baka, Naruto said, and Sasuke scoffed. Moving on, Tsunade said, diffusing the situation before it escalated. Your mission is to protect and escort the daimyo's grandson to the fire temple where he will link up with the daimyo. Since the 12 shinobi guardian are down to 4 members, they can't spare anyone from their side, so the task falls to us, Tsunade explained, and everyone nodded. Call him in and tell him that I have an escort team ready. Tsunade and Shizen nodded. About 20 minutes later, a young teen walked in the Hokage's office. He looked like he was about 15, maybe 16 years old. He had light blue eyes, with short and straight black hair that ended just around his neck. He was wearing a white kimono with dark red edges. On the kimono were floral designs in a different shade of red. This is Kenshin-sama, the fire daimyo's grandson, Tsunade pointed out, and everyone from Naruto's team did a small bow in sign of respect. This is my escort? Kenshin asked in disbelief. A bunch of kids younger than me, Kenshin said, and Sasuke scoffed. I'm a member of the Uchiha clan, we are not weak, Sasuke stated with pride in his clan. I seriously doubt that. Wasn't the whole Uchiha clan massacred by one of their own, and a 13-year-old at that? Kenshin explained, and Sasuke's anger was boiling. Naruto decided to intervene before Sasuke shoved a Chidori through the person that they had to protect. I'm Naruto, leader of the team. I assure you we are more than capable of protecting you, Naruto said in a formal and courteous voice. You seem even weaker than the Uchiha, Kenshin stated, and Naruto sighed. What exactly was this kid's problem with us? He should know better than to underestimate shinobi, as he should have plenty of interaction with the Guardian 12. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered. I'll personally guarantee your safety during our mission, Hinata said in a formal and stoic voice. It seemed she still remembered all the harsh etiquette training she received from her clan. Hello, beautiful, Kenshin said, approaching Hinata. How did I miss you? Kenshin asked while bowing and kissing Hinata's hand. Naruto's eye was twitching, and he was considering running a Chidori through Kenshin himself. Hands off my girlfriend, Naruto growled, and Kenshin raised an eyebrow. Be nice, Naruto-kun, Hinata said, removing her hand from Kenshin's grasp. You dare talk to me in such casual manner, peasant? Kenshin asked with a smirk. Naruto by now was releasing killer intent on the annoying Kenshin. Why would such a beauty associate with you? Kenshin asked, further angering him. That's it, Naruto said, and quickly placed a hand on Kenshin's shoulder and warped him away into his Kamui dimension. Ah, much better, Naruto said, and everyone stared at him. He just sent the daimyo's fucking grandson somewhere. Naruto, what did you do? Tsunade asked while everyone else was still staring at the blonde who was acting like nothing had happened. We are supposed to escort him, right? Naruto asked, and Tsunade nodded. What safer place than my personal pocket dimension? I'm the only who has access to it, Naruto explained, and Tsunade shook her head. Get him back here, Tsunade said, and Naruto shrugged his shoulders. He used his Kamui and brought him back to the real world. Where did you send me to? It was so dark and quiet, Kenshin said as he arrived, and immediately stumbled to the ground, keeping a safe distance from Naruto, and started sucking on his right thumb while rocking himself. They will be your escort team. This is Naruto as you have met Uchiha Sasuke, Hyuga Hinata and Naruto Shikamaru. Tsunade explained and Kenshin nodded in defeat, embracing his fate. Also Naruto, there is another thing you have to worry about, Tsunade said, and Naruto's team focused on her. Kenshin-sama has a bounty on his head due to his bloodline, so be extra careful. Tsunade explained and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Bloodline, are you a shinobi? Naruto asked. I have no shinobi training. I just know how to use chakra so I can control my bloodline, Kenshin explained and Naruto nodded. Can you tell us about it? Shikamaru asked. Every bit of information was valuable, even as irrelevant as it may seem. It's called Meitun, Dark Release, and with it I can absorb, manipulate and release someone else's chakra, Kenshin said while showing everyone the palm of his hands. In his palm was a mark that looked like two diamonds overlapping each other. Too interesting, Hiruzen said. That is a very useful bloodline, Hiruzen said, smoking on his pipe. With the proper training and skill, this bloodline would render any ninjutsu's attacks against the user harmless. Although sometimes I can't absorb elemental attacks. I don't really understand why, Kenshin said, sighing, and everyone nodded. You have your mission, get going, Tsunade said, and Naruto nodded and turned to address his team. You've heard the Hokage. Pack for 2 weeks as we will be traveling at civilian pace. Meet at the North Gate in 1 hour, Naruto said, and everyone left the Hokage's office to pack and start their new mission. Looks like Naruto really did grow up into a good person, Tsunade softly said. Hinata really did wonders for him while his was growing up, Hiruzen said. And the brat is already stronger than me, Tsunade said, scoffing. Can you imagine how strong he will be when he reaches his prime? Tsunade rhetorically asked, and Hiruzen shivered. Naruto was a Kage-level shinobi at 14 years old. What level would he be when he reached his prime in around 3 to 4 years? 32. Fire Temple. Konoha's North Gate. There were 5 people near the north gates of Konoha. They were Senju Naruto, Hyuga Hinata, Uchiha Sasuke, Naruto Shikamaru, and their client Kenshin. Kenshin was the Fire Daimyo's grandson, and Konoha was tasked to escort him to the Fire Temple where he would rendezvous with the Guardian 12. Alright, now that we are all here, let's take this from the top, Naruto said, looking at his team. Supply check, Naruto ordered. 100 shurikens, 10 Fuma shurikens, 100 kunais, 20 explosive tags, 1 medical kit, 1 sleeping bag, 10 food bars, 10 food pills and 10 soldier pills, Sasuke said, and Naruto nodded, turning to Shikamaru. Troublesome, 50 shurikens, 50 kunais, 10 explosive tags, 5 smoke bombs, 1 medical kit, 1 sleeping bag, 10 food bars, 10 food pills and 10 soldier pills, Shikamaru said, and Naruto nodded. I have 100 shurikens, 100 senbons, 100 kunais, 1 advanced medical kit, 1 sleeping bag, food bars, food pills and soldier pills, Hinata said, and Naruto nodded, turning to Kenshin. What? Kenshin asked. What do you mean, what? Naruto rhetorically asked. Don't you at least have a bag for sleeping and some food? Naruto asked, and Kenshin shrugged his shoulders. It's your job to escort me, so I assumed that I was taken care of, Kenshin stated, and Naruto sighed. Hold here, I'll go home get some more supplies, Naruto said. You are going home now, what are we supposed to do in the meantime? Kenshin asked. Relax, I'll be back in a flash, Naruto said, and ironically disappeared in a yellow flash. 5 minutes later he returned with another supply kit. Damn shinobi, the world would be better off without them, Kenshin thought to himself. We will be traveling in a loose diamond formation. Shikamaru on the back for support, me and Sasuke to the sides. Hinata, you take the lead, Naruto ordered, and everyone nodded. Hinata, 500-meter sweep every 2 minutes, Naruto said, and she nodded. Kotetsu, Naruto called out towards one of the gatekeepers. Sign us out, Naruto said, and handed him the mission form with the permit to leave the village. You are clear to go, Naruto, good luck, Kotetsu said. Let's move out, Naruto said, and they started walking out of the Konoha towards the Fire Temple. It would take a few days for them to arrive at the Fire Temple, traveling by civilian pace. 2 days into the mission, middle of Fire Country, Naruto's team and their client were traveling peacefully, and in just 2 days they were already at about half the distance. Kenshin didn't know how to properly use chakra, neither had the stamina of a shinobi, so they had to stop every couple of hours so he could rest. They had offered him to be carried, but he refused. Naruto even offered him to stay and rest inside Naruto's dimension, while they traveled at shinobi speed, but he refused as well. According to Kenshin, Naruto's dimension was scary, dark, cold, and lonely. It felt as if he was in a horror movie, too scared to even move. Say, Hinata started gathering the attention towards her. What's life like to the daimyo's grandson? Hinata asked, and everyone raised an eyebrow at the question. They had been traveling mostly in silence the whole travel. Sasuke was brooding, thinking about his brother Itachi. Shikamaru was watching the clouds, Hinata was busy sweeping the area, and Naruto and Kenshin didn't really seem to get along. Finally deciding to leave the peasant and come with me? Kenshin asked with sultry voice, and Hinata got a tick mark. Why do you insist on calling me peasant? Naruto asked, shaking his head and ignoring his comment towards Hinata. Because you are, Kenshin simply replied. Everyone on your team is from a clan, the Uchiha clan, founders of Konoha, the Nara clan, and the ever-honored Hyuga clan, Kenshin stated. There were a few wrong things with that train of thought. After all, neither Hinata belonged to the Hyuga clan and neither was Naruto clan less. Have you ever thought of was asking me my full name? Naruto rhetorically asked. What is full name then? Kenshin asked in a superior and arrogant tone. Naruto. Senju Naruto, Naruto said, and Kenshin stopped walking and stared at the blonde. That will put the prick in his place, Naruto thought, nodding to himself. Say Senju? Kenshin asked, stuttering, and Naruto nodded. But I thought Tsunade-sama was the last. Why didn't you say anything when I called peasant back then? Kenshin asked, shocked. The Senju were considered royalty in Konoha. There was a reason why Tsunade was called the Slug Princess. I don't care about titles, Naruto simply answered. I think respect must be earned and not given just because of the name you carry. Naruto explained, and Kenshin stared at him. Looks like even today the Senju remain honorable and modest. Kenshin thought to himself with a smile. Maybe he'll do a different job than them. Kenshin sadly thought. I suppose I owe you an apology, Kenshin said, but Naruto waved him off. Just stop hitting on my girlfriend and we are good, Naruto said, and Kenshin nodded. So, Hinata started. You didn't answer about your life, Hinata said, and Kenshin sighed before starting. My life is pretty boring now. Since my father died 6 years ago when I was 10, it became even worse, Kenshin sadly said. My father was supposed to succeed Grandpa as the new fire daimyo, but he was killed. Ever since then, the title fell to me, and now I'm constantly taught in the ways of the daimyo. I have to learn extensive geography and history, negotiations, politics, and economy. It sucks, Kenshin said, and Naruto chuckled. Naruto's days at the academy were pretty boring with Iruka as a teacher. That man was a very good practical teacher, but he couldn't, for the love of God, talk for more than 10 minutes without starting to sound boring. And the lessons tended to last hours, sometimes going on 3 hours on a row. My instructor at the academy was also boring, Naruto replied, and Shikamaru snorted. Shikamaru would always sleep during Iruka's highly detailed and constructive lessons. I have a question, Sasuke, and everyone turned to stare at him. Who would have thought that the brooding Uchiha would actively participate in the conversation? Why weren't you trained in the way of the shinobi due to your bloodline? Sasuke asked. I mean, it's not powerful as the Sharingan, good old Sasuke, Naruto thought, chuckling. But it still seems like a powerful bloodline to be able to negate any ninjutsu, Sasuke explained. I never knew I had a bloodline until the day my father died. My mother died when she gave birth to me, and she also was a civilian, so I never knew, Kenshin replied, looking down. When I was 10 years old, me and my father were traveling and being escorted by a Konoha team much like this, Kenshin started. We were ambushed by a team of Nuke-Nin, and my father ended up being killed during the battle. The Konoha team managed to hold on until the 12 shinobi guardians arrived, but it was too late. During the battle, one fire attack managed to slip by the Konoha shinobi and was heading towards me, Kenshin said. Then it happened. I instinctively closed my eyes and placed my arms in front of me to shield myself from the fireball. The moment the fireball was about to hit me, I felt a sharp pain in my hands and opened my eyes. I saw that the fireball was being sucked into my arm like a vacuum, Kenshin explained. I didn't know what was happening or how to control it. The fireball was sucked in completely, and just moments later, from the same arm, came the fireball that I had just sucked in. It completely surprised the enemy, and I ended up killing one of them, giving Konoha enough time for backup to arrive, Kenshin said, remembering his first kill and how he threw up afterwards. After the whole ordeal was over, I was taught how to use chakra and control it by the 12 shinobi guardians. My bloodline was very dangerous if I didn't know how to use it. According to them, I could accidentally kill any civilian when I shook his. Kenshin said. Makes sense. Civilians don't have active chakra networks, but they need it nonetheless. You could absorb all of their chakra almost instantly, and they would never knew of it as they weren't trained. Naruto concluded. Don't worry, you have 4 chunins guarding you, Naruto said. That didn't help much the last time. You ninja train every day, and yet when the time comes you are all worthless. Kenshin flatly replied. You know what? Naruto rhetorically asked. I'm going to tell something I told a friend I have back in the wave. Stop bitching about it and do something. Naruto simple said, and everyone raised an eyebrow at the bluntness at which he said that to the daimyo's grandson. After all, Naruto was never one to give any proper respect and honorifics to anyone. You are blaming Konoha shinobi on the death of your father, and I can accept that. But not all shinobi are worthless, as you say. You don't want that to happen again, then get training in the shinobi way. Master your bloodline and train, bleed and fight for those you care for. Naruto explained, and Kenshin turned away, not looking at Naruto, thinking about what he said. I'm going to tell you something the Sandaime Hokage once said to me when I was a kid, Naruto said, and everyone focused on him. In this society, true power is not attained from mastering all the world's techniques. This is something I have already taught you. When there is something important to protect, that's when a shinobi's true power emerges. Naruto quoted. True power comes from those who have the determination to protect. The true power of a shinobi emerges when he fights to protect those that are precious to him. Naruto explained. So if you want to protect those that you love, don't rely solely on others. Find your own strength and fight for them. That is how I unlocked the final tomo of my Sharingan, when Hinata-chan was being kidnapped. I unlocked the next level, the Manjikyu Sharingan, when Hinata-chan was about to die and I needed to save her. Naruto explained and looked at Kenshin, who was deep in thought. Easier said than done, Kenshin muttered out loud. I never said it would be easy. But would you rather have someone you cared for die just because you thought that training was tiresome and hard? Naruto rhetorically asked, but Kenshin didn't reply. I guess not, Kenshin replied before he gathered his thoughts and made a promise to himself. I will do it. I won't rely on others, and I will defend my family with everything I have, Kenshin stated with a small smile. Naruto-kun, Hinata thought, looking at Naruto smiling. Naruto always had a way with words. Troublesome. I guess he will make a fine Hokage one day, Shikamaru thought to himself. Sasuke replied, not really paying attention to what Naruto had said. So, Kenshin started. Can you train me? Kenshin asked, and Naruto chuckled. Hold your horses. We will only be escorting you to the fire temple. Once there, we will leave. Although, if you ask the 12 shinobi guardians, I'm sure they would be happy to help you, Naruto said, and Kenshin nodded. Enemy inbound, both sides, Hinata said, and Kenshin froze. Relax, Naruto said, placing a hand on his shoulder to calm his nerves. I take care of my team and clients. No one is dying today, except them, Naruto said, and turned to Hinata. Can I get a head count? Naruto asked, and Hinata focused on her Byakugan. At this time the whole team stopped and took defensive stances around Kenshin. I count 12 people, Hinata said, and focused more on each individual. Based on chakra level, I estimate 9 around Genin level, 2 Chunins and 1 Jounin. Hinata explained. The Genins don't seem to have any experience, or carry themselves as someone with training, so are most likely thugs who can use chakra, Hinata said, and Naruto nodded. They were probably taught by the Jounin and Chunins. Naruto concluded and activated his own Sharingan and started scanning the surroundings. I thought you were a Senju, Kenshin said, confused when he noticed Naruto's eyes. It was the fabled Sharingan. I am Senju on my mother's side and Uchiha on my father's, Naruto said. I'm in the bingo book, go look there, it has my family tree, Naruto explained. Incoming attack, Hinata said, and kunais came flying from all sides, making it impossible to escape. Doton Dorihiki, earth wall, Naruto said, and slammed his hands on the ground. All around the group, 4 earth walls rose from the ground to trap everyone inside. The kunais and shuriken hit the wall and got stuck. The earth wall blocked around 100 kunais and shurikens. You know the plan? Naruto asked, and they all nodded. Naruto made a shadow clone of himself and used his Kamui to sink underground. Naruto's clone dropped the wall and everyone was standing there in front of them. All 12 of the attackers were standing there trying to intimidate the Konoha's shinobi. Like Hinata had said, the thugs didn't have anything in particular related to shinobi. They had normal clothes and no armor or hidden pockets. They didn't even a high-tayat unlike the others. The Chunins and Jounin had a scratched high-tayat that belonged to the Hidden Grass Village, meaning they were Nuke-nin. How about you, kids, gives us the bloodline noble and we will let you go on your way, the Jounin said. It appeared as if he was the leader of this small group. We do not abandon our clients and we never surrender. It's the way of the leaf, Naruto said with his Sharingan spinning. An Uchiha, you might be worth something in another village. The Jounin mused. Let's take him as well along with the Hyuga girl, the Jounin said with a twisted smile. Get them, the Jounin said, and all of thugs rushed the target. Futon fanned wind. The original Naruto said, hidden in the trees. He picked his fan and channeling chakra through it, he swinged it, creating a very strong gust of wind. The gust collided with the thugs and all of them went flying and crashed into the ground and trees. It was clear that they weren't going to get up as they had cracked bones all over and some were even dead. You were saying? Naruto asked as the clone dispelled and the original approached his group. It was nothing more than a distraction so the enemy would think they were all there guarding the client. They didn't expect a surprise attack and, as such, Naruto was able to eliminate more than half of the group. Even if it were the weaker ones. Meh, they are just cannon fodder, the Jounin said, and Naruto shook his head. There was no honor among thieves. They were willing to sacrifice them as pawns and nothing more. The Jounin wanted to kill them quickly and took out a sword that looked like a normal katana. The Jounin dashed towards Naruto's group and raised his katana and tried to do a downward slash to kill them. However, Naruto was faster than him. Naruto blurred from his position, heading straight towards the incoming Jounin. Naruto closed the distance and gave no time for the Jounin to react. Naruto ducked under the swing and rose, placing himself in the middle of the Jounin's arms. Naruto quickly head-butted him, making the Jounin stumble backwards. Naruto kicked the Jounin's right hand and made the sword fly into the air. While the sword was still in the air, Naruto gave the Jounin a kick to his chest, making him fly away and collide with the tree. Naruto caught the falling sword and immediately threw it at the Jounin, piercing his clothes and snaring him to the tree. The Jounin and Chunins gulped when they saw that display of skill and speed. The Jounin was already sweating as the blonde kid could have killed right away if he wanted. Who wants a piece of action? Naruto asked, and Hinata and Sasuke raised their hands, making Naruto chuckle. Hinata, you take the Jounin, Sasuke the left Chunin, Naruto said. Why does Hinata get to take the Jounin? Sasuke yelled, frustrated with the fact that Naruto would think that Hinata was stronger than him, or that Sasuke wasn't strong enough to take the Jounin. Shut up and do what I say, Naruto ordered, and Sasuke scowled. Releasing a bit of Ki to further his order, Sasuke eventually caved and Naruto turned to Shikamaru. Troublesome. I'll take the other 1 inch, Shikamaru said, sighing and stepping forward, leaving Naruto to protect Kenshin. They all immediately dashed towards the enemy, who braced themselves to fight the incoming Konoha shinobi. Aren't you going to help your girlfriend? Kenshin asked, surprised how calm Naruto was. He didn't seem any bit worried to see his girlfriend or the rest of the team fight for their lives. Don't worry, all of them are very strong. Do you know the ninja ranking system? Naruto asked, and Kenshin nodded. It was one of many subjects he had to learn. After all, the Fire Daimyo was the supreme ruler of the Fire Country and, as such, indirect leader of the Leaf Village. The Fire Daimyo was more turned to economy, while the Hokage was the military leader. Even though we are all Chunin, I'm ranked as a Kage-level shinobi, Hinata-chan is an elite Jounin, Sasuke is around low Jounin, and Shikamaru is a solid Chunin, Naruto explained, and Kenshin had his eyes widened. You don't really think Tsunade-bachan would give you an escort with 4 ordinary and fresh Chunins, were you? Naruto rhetorically asked, but Kenshin said nothing. Tsunade-bachan? Kenshin muttered out loud, and Naruto nodded. Oh shit. I called him peasant in front of her. I'm so lucky to be alive. Kenshin thought to himself, shivering. Everyone in the world knew exactly why Tsunade was famous, and it was because of her short temper and monstrous strength. If anything goes south, I'll intervene, Naruto stated, and turned to watch the battles. Hinata versus Jounin. Oh goody. The blonde kid sent the lamb to the slaughter, the Jounin said, licking his lips in anticipation. Are you in the bingo book? Hinata asked in a monotone voice. No, why do you ask? The Jounin asked, confused. Shame. That means there is no reward in killing you, Hinata said, and the Jounin scoffed. We will see, the Jounin said, and took out a couple of kunais. Suetun Tepidama, water bullet, Hinata said, and sent a couple of water bullets towards the Jounin. He jumped to the side to avoid them and threw a kunai to Hinata wrapped with explosive tag. Hinata dodged the kunai and the tag exploded, creating a cloud of dust. Using the cloud as coverage, Hinata created a shadow clone and activated her Byakugan. Using her eyes, she easily bypassed the dust cloud and located the Jounin, who was observing intently the cloud for any signs of Hinata. Hinata took out a couple of poisonous saban and easily threw them towards the Jounin, using the dust as cover-up. The Jounin was fairly close to the dust cloud and, even though he was a Jounin, he didn't have reflexes quick enough to completely dodge the saban as they were small and difficult to see. The saban scratched the Jounin and introduced the poison into him. Due to his quick reflexes, he managed to avoid any critical strike from the saban, but he still got infected by the poison, although he didn't know that yet. Bitch, the Jounin said before flashing through hand seals. Doton Domu Earth Spear. A chunk of earth rose from the ground and formed a spear that the Jounin grabbed and threw blindly into the dust cloud. He heard a piercing sound and smirked, thinking he got her. The dust cloud finally lifted and the Jounin smiled at the sight of Hinata being pinned to the ground with an earth spear through her left shoulder. The Jounin approached her and kicked her. Serves you right, bitch, the Jounin said, laughing until Hinata disappeared in a cloud of smoke to reveal a small log. Kawarimi, substitution, shit, the Jounin thought as the log started sizzling. He took a closer look and saw that the log had an explosive tag attached to it. The tag detonated and the Jounin was thrown backwards but managed to flip mid-air and land on the ground barely hurt. He scanned his surroundings trying to find her. The Jounin knew he was at a disadvantage as he was fighting a Hyuga. His enemy had the Byakugan, and was a safe bet that she knew exactly where he was, unlike him who had to rely on his senses to find her. Futon Rankuden, wind bullet, Hinata whispered before taking a deep breath and firing multiple wind bullets towards the unsuspecting Jounin. The Jounin felt the chakra usage and immediately performed a Kawarimi to avoid the death zone. Hinata saw him mold the chakra with her Byakugan and adjusted her trajectory with the last bullets. The Jounin performed the Kawarimi and avoided the bullets safely, or so he thought. He started doing hand seals for another jutsu when he felt pain through his legs. He buckled over in pain and noticed that he was bleeding from both legs who had holes in them. He tried to get up until he felt a sharp pain in the middle of his chest, and then nothing more than darkness. Hinata had quickly approached the Jounin and delivered a Juken strike to his heart, killing him instantly. There was no point in letting him suffer in pain, so Hinata took him out his misery. Shikamaru vs. Chunin. Damn that Naruto, giving me all the work while I could be resting by the client watching the clouds. Shikamaru muttered, sighing and stopping right in front of the Chunin. Shikamaru was already making plans and more plans to defeat his enemy and end this battle quickly. After all, the clouds don't watch themselves. If you want, I can leave, the Chunin said in a sarcastic tone. That would be great, see ya, Shikamaru said and turned to walk away from the enemy who had a WTF face. I'm joking, you bastard, you aren't going anywhere, the Chunin yelled and charged towards Shikamaru. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered and braced himself to fight that troublesome shinobi. Shikamaru crouched and placed his hands rat hand seal. The shadow beneath Shikamaru started shimmering and suddenly a thin line raced towards the incoming Chunin. A Nara, the Chunin thought as he stopped running towards Shikamaru and started evasive maneuvers. If he got caught in the shadow, it would be the end of him. Even though the shadow bloodline from the Nara clan is very powerful, their techniques have several weaknesses. For instance, the most basic technique, which Shikamaru is performing, the user must be rooted in place, keeping the constant hand seal, making him vulnerable to an attack. Another weakness is that, if the enemy's chakra is powerful enough, they can break the shadow bind, placing the Nara user in a tough spot. Seeing this, the Chunin jumped high in the air and took out a couple of shurikens and sent them towards Shikamaru. Shikamaru was forced to stop his technique and jumped to the side to avoid the shurikens. Shikamaru took out a couple of smoke bombs and threw them into the middle of road, clouding the Chunin's view of his enemy. The Chunin knew he couldn't stay in the smoke cloud and, as such, he jumped into the nearby forest and latched himself into a tree, channeling chakra into his feet. Let's see, the Chunin thought, considering what to do against the shadow user. Katon, Gakaku no Jutsu, great fireball technique, the Chunin said and sent a big fireball towards Shikamaru, who was still on the road watching the cloud of smoke disperse. Shikamaru noticed a fireball and pinpointed the enemy's location from the jutsu. Using the fireball's shadow and the natural shadows created by the trees in the forest, Shikamaru did a quick kawarimi with a nearby log and immediately crouched. His shadow blurred from his position and quickly passed underneath the fireball and up the tree, snaring the Chunin into position. How? The Chunin asked. He never noticed the shadow crept on him. He looked towards to where the fireball crashed and noticed a burned log, meaning Shikamaru had switched with it. Very simple. I used the fireball's shadow along with the shadows from the trees. The smoke bomb's original purpose was to lure you into the forest. Shikamaru explained and performed another set of hand seals. Shadow neck binding, Shikamaru said, and the shadow under the Chunin's feet started crawling up his legs and taking the form of hands. These shadow hands easily reached the Chunin's neck and proceeded to strangle him to death. The Chunin fell to the ground and Shikamaru left to group up with Naruto so he could finally watch some clouds. Sasuke vs. Chunin. You should give up. Only an Uchiha can defeat an Uchiha. Sasuke taunted, or most likely bragged, but in the end didn't matter. Like most shinobi, when you taunt them they fall for it and charge head on. Shut up, you bastard! The Chunin said and blurred towards Sasuke, who smirked and easily saw him approaching with his Sharingan. Usually the one that advances first is the first to make a mistake. They both arrived near each other and started exchanging blows, with Sasuke coming on top. The Chunin threw a sloppy punch and Sasuke capitalized on it. Sasuke swatted his fist aside and grabbed his wrist. Sasuke flicked him and slammed him into the ground. The Chunin got up and Sasuke took his chance and gave him a roundhouse kick, and the Chunin was sent flying into a nearby tree. Pathetic, Sasuke said, smirking. As expected. No one can match the power of an Uchiha, Sasuke bragged. Katan, Hosenka no Jutsu, Phoenix Fire Technique, Sasuke said and sent multiple small fireballs towards the Chunin. He had just got up and couched a bit of blood when he saw the incoming fire attack. The Chunin decided to perform a fast kawarimi with a nearby log, since it would be difficult to dodge all of the fireballs. The Chunin came into his senses when he noticed Sasuke appear next to him. Sasuke sent him a kick and Chunin managed to block with his right leg. Sasuke twisted his body and gave him a right hook. The Chunin blocked it once again with his hands, but Sasuke continued his twist and used his other leg and slammed it into the Chunin's face, sending him flying once again. Sasuke quickly repapered next to the Chunin before he could even land, and gave him a kick that sent him flying into the air. Sasuke blurred from his position and appeared behind the Chunin in mid-air. Sasuke grabbed the Chunin, trapped the Chunin's legs with his hands and wrapped his legs around the Chunin's chest and plummeted towards earth. Sasuke slammed the Chunin's head hard into the ground, hard enough to bury him and snap his neck. Sasuke got up and smirked, and his handiwork, all that training, was paying off. Back with Naruto and Kenshin, you see, Naruto said, pointing towards the incoming members of his team. Nothing to worry about, Naruto stated. That's good, but I can't stop shaking, Kenshin said, trembling. It's the adrenaline, Hinata started. You aren't used to see this type of combat, and you were obviously nervous. It will wear off, give it a couple of minutes, Hinata explained, and he nodded. We will set camp here tonight, Naruto said, as the day was already beginning to darken and they had just battled a couple of Nukenin. Sasuke, go collect wood for a fire, Shikamaru, water, Naruto said, and they both left. Hinata-chan, stay close to Kenshin, I'll bury the bodies, Naruto said, and left to go collect the bodies of the enemy and bury them. A couple of minutes later everyone returned with their respective things and Naruto started a small fire with a Katan Jutsu. They ate quietly and peacefully, and Naruto formed a small earth dome so that they could sleep with some coverage. For 3 hours shift each one. Who wants the first? Naruto asked, and Shikamaru stepped forward. Troublesome, I'll take the first one, Shikamaru said, yawning. No cloud watching, Naruto said, grinning, and Shikamaru waved him off. Little does he know it's a clear sky, so I'll be watching the stars, Shikamaru thought evilly. 3 days later, Fire Temple. The rest of the travel went without any sort of troubles, as they weren't ambushed again. During the travel, Naruto eventually caved and decided to show Kenshin the leaf-sticking exercise for chakra control, as it could be done while traveling. Kenshin had a really hard time doing it because he was already old, and such his chakra network was a bit atrophied. They were reaching the Fire Temple and stopped at the supposed entrance to it. There were stairs as far as the eye could see, and there weren't even intervals between them. It was step after step in what seemed to be a long walk. 234 steps, Kenshin said, and Naruto's eye twitched. Keep those comments to you, Naruto said, and they all started walking up the stairs that didn't seem to end. After 234 steps, they finally reached the real entrance to the fire temple. The temple itself seemed to be surrounded by high and sturdy stone walls, with the entrance being a big golden gate with 2 statues near them, as if guarding the gates. They approached the gates and stopped in front of them. Naruto tried to push the gate to open it, but it wouldn't budge. It won't open. Am I supposed to blow it to pieces? Naruto asked, turning to Kenshin, who paled at the thought of Naruto blowing up the gates. Hold on, Naruto said, and his eyes flashed to his Manjikyu, and, touching every member of his team and using his Kamui, he simply walked through the gates. Kenshin got chills down his spine when traveling through the gate. Just what type of shinobi was this Naruto? He just passed through a gate like a ghost. Once inside, the temple itself looked very modest. It wasn't an overly large construction, or fancy for that matter. It seemed to be a monastery built primarily of wood with some empty grounds around. If Naruto had to guess, these empty grounds were mostly training ones. Hold! Someone yelled and forced Naruto's team into defensive stances around Kenshin. Identify yourselves, the person ordered. They relaxed their stance but kept on edge. After all, appearances can be deceiving. Konoha team escorting Kenshin-sama, Naruto stated, and that someone stepped from the shadows to reveal a monk. The person was a bald man with dark eyes and very thick eyebrows. He wore the standard attire of the ninja monk along with the sash worn by members of the 12 Guardian Ninja group, and went barefoot. I'm Chiriku, the head monk in the fire temple, Chiriku said, greeting the Konoha team, and motioned to another person to step out from the shadows, but Naruto's team had already knowledge of his existence. The other person looked like he was around 14. He had shoulder-length, dull bluish-gray hair in an asymmetrical style with a single lock falling into his face, and brown eyes. He wore sandals and the standard monk uniform with a long right sleeve. This is Sora, my apprentice, Chiriku explained, and Sora bowed to the Konoha team. Pleasure to meet you, Naruto said, greeting them. I'm Senjin Naruto, leader of team. This is Nara Shikamaru, Naruto said, pointing to the yawning Nara. This is Hyuga Hinata, Naruto said, pointing towards Hinata, who slightly bowed. And this is Uchiha Sasuke, Naruto said, and Sasuke did his traditional cocky smirk. Nice to meet you all, Chiriku started. We weren't expecting you for at least a couple more days, Chiriku stated, impressed with the speed at which they got to the fire temple. We made good time and we didn't have much trouble, Naruto explained, and Chiriku motioned them to follow him inside. As we weren't expecting you on such short notice, the fire daimyo has yet to arrive, and, as such, there aren't any 12 shinobi guardians here, Chiriku explained. It shouldn't be a problem. Our mission is to escort and protect Kenshin-sama until he can rendezvous with the 12 shinobi guardian. As such, we shall wait here with him until they arrive. I will send a message to Tsunade Bachan to report our progress and explain our situation, Naruto explained, and Chiriku nodded. They approached the monastery and saw that some monks were practicing taijutsu in one of the training grounds. They weren't sparring like shinobi do. When shinobi spar, they aren't afraid to hit their comrade, while the monks would stop if the attack would hit the opponent. Seeing the curious face of the Konoha team, Chiriku decided to explain. We aren't the traditional monks, Chiriku started, and everyone focused on him. We are ninja monks. We usually don't take the traditional path the shinobi seem to take. Like, for instance, we don't train much in anything other than taijutsu and elemental ninjutsu, Chiriku explained. All of the ninja monks are around what you might call chunin level. More skilled monks are usually assigned to the 12 shinobi guardians along with a select few from Konoha, Chiriku stated, and Shikamaru remembered something when he saw Chiriku's scarf. You were a member of the 12 shinobi guardian, Shikamaru stated, and Chiriku raised an eyebrow. I was. Why do you ask? Chiriku asked, curious as to why he would ask such question. Because Asuma-sensei has the same scarf as you and was also one of the 12, Shikamaru said. Sarutobi Asuma? Chiriku asked, surprised to hear the name of his long-away friend. Hi, Shikamaru said. Oh, Asuma-kun, we were partners in the 12 back in the day. How's that bastard doing? Chiriku asked. Shikamaru blinked at the way he phrased the question. Was a monk allowed to curse? He's fine and a good sensei. He always took us out to eat after a successful mission, Shikamaru said, and Chiriku nodded. It was good to find that his friend was good, and he got a genin team to teach. And if this young man's flak jacket was proof, Asuma was doing a good job teaching them. This way, Chiriku said, and guided them to the rooms where they will staying for the next couple of days until the fire daimyo arrives. After a couple minutes of walking, they reached the rooms and each member took one. Naruto assigned the same shifts to watch over Kenshin. They were deep inside the fire temple and they shouldn't have much trouble, but Naruto didn't want to take any chances. He himself is a master at infiltration, but that is partially due his Kamui ability, but nonetheless there are a lot of skilled shinobi out there, and Naruto wanted to make sure Kenshin was safe at all times. Next day, fire temple outside, deep within the forest just outside of fire temple were two cloaked figures. A small light bypassed the branches and showed them. They were Tobi and Kakuzu, and they were talking to one another. "You know what to do?" Tobi asked, and Kakuzu nodded. "Good. Don't underestimate the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. IWA classified him as an S-rank shinobi, and we know for a fact that he can control at least 4 tails," Tobi said. After all, if Kakuzu got himself killed before he could even finish his mission, that wouldn't please Tobi at all. "Just make sure you do your part," Kakuzu said, and dashed out of the forest going towards the fire temple's gate. Kakuzu approached the golden gates and formed a ram's seal. His hands started to darken as they seemed to turn into something stronger than stone itself. "Doton Domu Earth Spear," Kakuzu said, forming a fist with his right hand and slamming it against the golden gates. The gates were obliterated and blasted backwards, crashing into the middle of the training grounds. Subtle, Tobi thought as he warped away to get into position. Inside Fire Temple, Naruto and Naruto, Sasuke, Hinata, Shikamaru were guarding Kenshin while Chiriku and Sora were taking them on a tour around the Fire Temple. Regarding Sora, Naruto felt that was something off about the kid. Naruto noticed the glares the other monks seemed to give Sora, and these types of glares reminded him of his life back in the old days. "Chiriku-san," Naruto said, gathering his attention. "Do you mind if I ask a personal question?" Naruto asked, and Chiriku raised an eyebrow. "I'll do my best to answer it truthfully," Chiriku replied, and Naruto nodded, thinking how to put his questions the right way. "Truthfully, you say?" Naruto thought before activating his Sharingan and hiding it with a small genjutsu. Hinata sensed the genjutsu and activated her Byakugan as well. All of this, and Chiriku never realized it. After all, would you expect a Sharingan user belonging to the Senju clan? "I noticed some strange looks that the other monks seemed to give Sora-san," Naruto said, and Chiriku remained impassive, but Hinata saw a small rise in his heartbeat, and Naruto noticed a small increase in his blood pressure due to a small bulge in his neck. Sora just frowned as he wondered why he received those glares. Sora's subject, both Naruto and Hinata thought. Chiriku looked over to Sora, who was silent, and watching him intently to see if Chiriku was going to tell him. "I know those types of glares, and if he is what I think he is, then you should have let the Hokage know about this," Naruto explained, looking directly at Chiriku and letting his genjutsu drop to reveal his Sharingan. "I don't think you are equipped or trained if something should happen," Naruto said, and Chiriku flinched. "Something did happen," Naruto stated. "What are you talking about?" Sora asked. "You said you didn't know why they treated me like this," Sora sadly said, looking intently at him. "Tell me," Sora yelled, but this time towards Naruto. "You are what people call a Jinchuriki, a human sacrifice," Naruto started. "Jinchuriki are human beings that have a bija sealed inside of them," Naruto said, and Sora's eyes widened at the implications. "Which one does he have?" Naruto asked Chiriku. "Kyuubi," Chiriku sadly replied, sighing. What? Naruto, Hinata, Kurama, Shikamaru yelled. "Kurama, what is he talking about?" Naruto asked his partner, who was dumbfounded at the monk's statement. "I don't have a clue. I don't sense anything coming off of him," Kurama replied. "That is impossible, Chiriku-san," Naruto said to Chiriku. "What makes you say that?" Chiriku asked, confused. "Because I'm the Kyuubi Jinchuriki," Naruto said. Sasuke's eye widened along with Sora's and Chiriku's. "But, when it happened, I felt the chakra and it was definitely the Kyuubi's," Chiriku explained, and Naruto stayed silent. "That dope seems to have everything. The Kyuubi should belong to me. With it I easily could defeat Itachi. After all, the Sharingan is capable of controlling the Kyuubi," Sasuke thought to himself. "Did I do something?" Sora asked carefully, as nothing was making much sense as of now. Chiriku sighed and decided it was time to explain everything, but he never wanted him to find out this way. "A couple years ago, when you were younger, you somehow unleashed that chakra that was sealed inside of you and proceeded to go on a rampage around our temple, destroying good part of it, and injuring many monks. Thank Kami no one died, but the damage was severe and they started looking at you with hate and fear," Chiriku said. It was that day I realized that you had the Kyuubi's chakra sealed inside of you. I don't know who or how it happened, but it doesn't matter at this point. After that whole incident, everyone became aware of you and started giving those looks," Chirika said, placing a hand on Sora's shoulder. "So, I'm nothing more than a monster," Sora said, looking down. "No, you aren't a monster," Naruto said. "How do you know?" Sora yelled at him, almost sobbing. "Because I'm not one either," Naruto replied, and Sora's eyes widened. "Since you have the Kyuubi's chakra and since the Kyuubi's soul is inside me, when you use the Kyuubi's chakra, if you can't control it, it runs rampart. If you don't manage to control the chakra, it runs wildly, and you won't be able to distinguish friend from foe, and you will destroy everything in your path," Naruto explained. "What am I supposed to do then?" Sora asked. "You're in luck," Naruto said, and Sora got confused. "Me and the Kyuubi are going to help you control it so this doesn't happen again," Naruto said, and Sora was shocked. "The Kyuubi is going to help me?" Sora asked fearfully. "Yes. The Kyuubi is both a dear friend and a trusted partner. He will help us, don't worry," Naruto said. "Trust Naruto to call a Bijou his friend, troublesome," Shikamaru thought. "When you are ready we can begin," Naruto said, and Sora nodded. "Thank you, Naruto-san," Chirika said. Maybe Sora would be able to make a couple of friends his age, and Naruto would be the best as he was also a Jinchuriki. Boom! What was that? Naruto asked as everyone recoiled from the explosion they heard coming from outside a fire temple. After a couple of seconds, a monk came running inside. "Chirika-san, we are under attack from a shinobi," the monk said between breaths, placing his hands on his knees. "He destroyed the gate and is destroying and killing everyone in sight." Sasuke, the moment that he heard this, blurred away from Naruto's position heading towards the gates. Sasuke intended to kill this threat quickly so he could go back to training. "Sasuke!" Naruto yelled as Sasuke was running away from him. "That idiot is going to get himself killed," Naruto said out loud and turned to Chiriku, who was discussing plans with the monk that came to warn them. "Chirika-san," Naruto said, gathering his attention. "Kenshin-sama takes priority. Once we have him transferred into a secure location, I can provide assistance." Naruto and Chirika nodded. "Let's hope your teammate can last," Chirika said, and motioned them to follow him so they could take Kenshin to a secure room inside the fire temple. After a couple of minutes of running, they finally came across what seemed to be a panic room. The room had large metal doors. "Fuin Teppiki, Kai, sealed iron door, release," Chirika said, going through hand seals. The massive iron doors glowed momentarily before unlocking and allowing Kenshin, Sora, Hinata, and Shikamaru entrance to the room. The room itself was very large, and it was completely surrounded by iron or other metal. The room itself was mostly empty except with a table and couple of chairs. "Hinata-chan, Shikamaru, you stay and protect Kenshin. I'm going outside to help," Naruto said, and everyone nodded. Naruto was about to leave when Hinata grabbed him and gave him a small kiss. "Be careful," Hinata softly said. "I always am," Naruto replied and dashed away with Chirika beside him. With Sasuke was running through the monastery inside the fire temple. After a couple minutes of running, he finally found the monastery's exit and ran outside to find this shinobi and terminate his existence. Sasuke came outside and there was destruction everywhere. Monks laid everywhere on the ground and most likely dead by their appearance. Sasuke activated his Sharingan and scanned his surroundings. Sasuke felt a presence behind him and jumped away just moments before the shinobi came punching the ground. The ground exploded from the power of the punch and sent debris everywhere. After a couple of seconds, the dust cloud settled and Sasuke saw a shinobi standing there looking at Sasuke impassively. The shinobi standing in front of Sasuke was very tall and seemed muscular. He was wearing a high-collared black cloak with red clouds on it. In his head he wore a white hood and a black mask, with his eyes being the only visible part of his face. His eyes were the strangest thing. The pupil was a very deep forest green while the rest of the eye was blood red. "He's making my job easier coming after me," Kakuzu thought, looking at Sasuke. He still didn't understand why that Tobi person wanted Sasuke for, but it didn't matter to him. As long as he got paid, he wouldn't ask any questions. "Who are you and what do you want?" Sasuke asked, glaring at the man in front of him. "I'm Kakuzu, and as to why I'm here, I don't think that concerns you," Kakuzu stoically said. "I guess I'll have to beat it out of you," Sasuke said, smirking, and dashed towards Kakuzu. Naive, Kakuzu thought, and braced himself to put the brat in his place. Sasuke closed the distance between Kakuzu and himself in no time, and jumped in the air trying a spin kick. Kakuzu, bringing his left arm up, blocked it. Kakuzu grabbed Sasuke by his legs and smashed him into the floor, making him cough. Kakuzu used his Doton technique and tried to punch Sasuke, who was on the ground, but Sasuke managed to Kawarimi out. Katan, Gakakyu no Jutsu, great fireball technique, Sasuke said and sent a fireball towards Kakuzu, who flashed through a couple of hand seals that Sasuke wasn't able to see. Suetun Sujin Hiki, water wall, Kakuzu said and started expelling water from his mouth, forming a sphere around his body. The fireball crashed into the water wall and disappeared in steam, leaving Kakuzu unharmed. Tisk, Sasuke scoffed at the sight of a mere shinobi defending himself so easily against him. Sasuke was so focused on Kakuzu that he didn't notice something grab his foot by the ankle. A hand emerged from the ground and caught Sasuke's ankle with a very firm grip, not allowing any kawarimi of any sort. The strange part was that the hand was only the hand. There was no arm unless a bunch of black threads attached to the hand. The hand rose from the ground and into the air, dragging Sasuke along and sending him crashing into a building nearby. Cough, cough, Sasuke coughed and got up, cleaning a bit of blood from the side of his lip and stretching his arms. Sasuke dashed again towards Kakuzu with a frontal assault. Once next to Kakuzu, Sasuke sent a punch to Kakuzu's face, who didn't even try to block it. Instead, Kakuzu used his earth technique to strengthen his fist and smashed it into Sasuke, who poofed in smoke. A clone? Kakuzu wondered when he looked to his right and saw multiple small fireballs coming hot towards him. Kakuzu easily dodged all of the fireballs with small and consecutive jumps. This time it was Kakuzu who ran towards Sasuke and engaged him in a heated taijutsu battle. Sasuke quickly realized that Kakuzu is much faster and much stronger than him, and by a large margin. Sasuke's Sharingan could barely keep track of Kakuzu and his speed. Kakuzu tried to punch Sasuke, who tilted back to avoid hit. Kakuzu tried another punch and Sasuke ducked, going for a leg sweep. Kakuzu jumped up and tried a downward kick that Sasuke blocked by bringing his arm up in a cross formation. Even though Sasuke blocked the kick, he was being pushed down by the sheer strength of his adversary. Sasuke removed his arms and rolled to the side to avoid his kick as it smashed into the ground. Sasuke tried to jump away, but Kakuzu's hand split from his body and caught him by the ankle again and proceeded to smash Sasuke against the ground and nearby buildings multiple times until it finally released him by throwing him into the ground. Weak, pathetic, Kakuzu said as he watched Sasuke trying to push himself to stand but having difficulties. His body hurt all over and Sasuke was pretty sure that his ankle might be dislodged from place. Why Itachi didn't kill you is beyond me, Kakuzu said, and Sasuke saw red. Itachi! What do you know of Itachi? Sasuke yelled towards Kakuzu, who remained undisturbed against that pathetic killing intent. Tell me, Sasuke ordered. You are in no position to order me around, boy, Kakuzu said, and Sasuke gritted his teeth. Itachi belongs to our group. Anyone who wears this cloak, Kakuzu said, pointing towards his black cloak with red clouds, belongs to the Akatsuki group, Kakuzu explained. Where is he? Sasuke yelled again, asking Kakuzu where his brother was. His hate was dulling Sasuke's pain as he was standing, even though his ankle was in very bad shape. Now that would be telling, Kakuzu said, chuckling and making Sasuke scowl at him, flashing through hand seals. A Chidori popped to life in Sasuke's hands, who proceeded to blur towards Kakuzu, who remained in place. Chidori, Sasuke said, and tried to pierce Kakuzu, who simply grabbed Sasuke's wrist and disrupted his Chidori with this. With a small twist of motion, Kakuzu broke Sasuke's wrist, making him scream in pain. I guess Itachi left you alive as an act of mercy. You are worthless, Kakuzu, and delivered a strong kick to Sasuke's chest, and he was sent flying into the ground. Where did all that training go? Sasuke wondered in thought as he got demolished by this shinobi. Damn it, I'm too weak. At this rate I'll never avenge my clan, Sasuke thought as he crashed into the ground, forming a small crater. Sasuke at this point couldn't even feel half of his body and was barely conscious. Primary objective completed, Kakuzu thought to himself. Raikiri. A voice was heard, and the only thing Kakuzu felt was a very sharp pain from his chest. He looked down and saw a hand coated in lightning sticking out of his chest. How did you get behind me? Kakuzu said just before Naruto pulled his arm out and Kakuzu fell to the ground dead. Naruto's Raikiri pierced cleanly through his heart, and no one could survive such attack. I guess I won't be needed, Chirika said as he watched Naruto kill the enemy with a single jutsu. Both of them then proceeded to run towards Sasuke and got him out of the ground. They were lifting Sasuke when Naruto felt a chakra spike behind them. Naruto turned just in time to see Kakuzu finish his hand seals and say, Futon Atsugai, pressurized wind bomb, and sent a big chakra-compressed vacuum ball towards Naruto and Chiriku. Naruto dropped Sasuke into Chiriku's back and, picking up his fan from his back, he swatted the wind bomb away into nothingness. The ball collided with the fan, but the only result was a loud sound as Naruto's fan neutralized the attack. Will you be alright alone? Chiriku asked. The enemy had just decimated Uchiha Sasuke, who was a Chunin and Naruto's teammate. I can take care of myself. Take Sasuke to get healed, Naruto said, and Chiriku jumped away. How are you still alive? Naruto asked, surprised to see his enemy still standing. I know for certain that I got your hearth, Naruto stated, looking at his enemy and noticed his cloak. So you are after me again? Naruto asked, looking carefully at him, Sharingan blazing. Taking into account that I sent Itachi and Kisame with their tails between their legs, I suppose they sent someone stronger? Naruto asked, but Kakuzu remained impassive. And, why do I feel 4 different chakra signatures coming off you? Naruto wondered as he focused more on his enemy, trying to find anything else. He's already close to figuring it out. He's not to be underestimated, Kakuzu thought. I'm not here for you, Kyuubi, but I suppose I can take you as well, Kakuzu said, and Naruto laughed. You can't take me that easily. I believe I will put up a fight at least, Naruto said. Ready? Kakuzu asked. Yes, Naruto said, and both of them dashed towards each other at high speeds. They met halfway and their fists collided with a shockwave. They were evenly matched in taijutsu, with Naruto being faster and Kakuzu being stronger, far stronger than anyone should be. Naruto noticed that his skin was dark, almost black. Using his Sharingan, he decided to analyze as best he could why his skin would be so. He's using Earth Chakra to strengthen his skin and increase his strength, Naruto concluded from the analyses. Naruto jumped back into the air to gain some distance, and he was surprised when Kakuzu's hands detached themselves from him. The hands were going fast towards his ankles and Naruto had to do something. Naruto focused his chakra and golden chains erupted from his hands. Naruto sent the chains into the ground and used them to outmaneuver Kakuzu's hands midair and land on the ground. Naruto channeled chakra into his wrist storage seal and took out his Chikuto and began channeling right on chakra through it. Naruto dashed forward and sliced the black threads connecting the hands to Kakuzu. The hands fell limply to the ground. Naruto was a bit sick to see another set of black threads pop out of the ground and reattach themselves at the hands, pulling them back to their owner. What are you? Naruto asked, confused with his enemy. First I pierced his heart, and he gets up like nothing, and now he detached body parts, Naruto thought, shaking his head. Why couldn't he have normal adversaries? First was Orochimaru vomiting himself, and now this one. Right on Raryuden, Lightning Dragon 1, Naruto said, blurring through hand seals, and slammed his hands together. Lightning could be heard sparkling around his hands, and suddenly a large blue dragon with yellow eyes erupted from his hands. The dragon roared his way towards Kakuzu, who had his eyes widened. Futon de Tapa, great breakthrough, Kakuzu said, and sent a gust of wind towards the incoming dragon, intending to disrupt the jutsu. However, his wind jutsu was far too weak when compared to Naruto's and did little to nothing to even slow it down. Kakuzu had no choice but to run away. The moment the dragon was about to crash into him, Kakuzu sidestepped it and jumped as far away as he could. Even though Kakuzu dodged the attack, his left arm was spasming a bit from the electricity. Surprise, Naruto said as he reappeared next to Kakuzu's position with his hand crackling with electricity. Raikiri, Naruto said, and slammed his hand into Kakuzu. Kakuzu was able to slightly dodge the attack but ended up being stabbed through the right shoulder. Naruto jumped back to gain some distance, and once again Kakuzu fell to the ground lifeless. Naruto was no fool. This time he was ready, and he could still feel 3 chakra signatures coming from Kakuzu. Kakuzu started jerking around in the ground, and suddenly he exploded in black threads. His Akatsuki cloak was ripped to shreds. The whole mess of black threads started to form 2 separate globs away from Kakuzu's body. In each of these globs of black threads was a white mask with different color and design. The masks were light blue and looked like a bird, and the other one was red and looked like a dragon. Kakuzu's body rose from the ground, and he still looked the same. Even though he just had those masks taken from his body, he didn't change much. What is happening? Naruto asked himself. I already killed him twice, and yet he still stands. Naruto thought until he looked around and noticed the other two masks on the ground. As expected from the Konoha no Raijin, Konoha's thunder god. Kakuzu thought to himself. That lightning dragon was exceptionally powerful and not even his wind technique managed to dispel it. The other masks were cracked and destroyed, but he could still see that they were brown and the other one was dark blue. Do the masks have anything to do with his lives? Maybe I need to kill him 3 more times to make it permanent, Naruto thought, deciding on his approach. He looked towards Kakuzu and noticed that the masks were missing until he heard a swirling noise to his right. Futon Atsugai, pressurized wind bomb, Katon Zukaku, cranium carver, Kakuzu said as both masks were staying side by side preparing to launch the jutsus. In the light blue mask the wind started swirling, the same as fire in the red mask. Both masks launched their jutsu simultaneously, combining the two elements to power up the jutsu. A shining ball of fire, like the sun, was flying towards Naruto at high speeds. Kamui, Naruto said and activated his Manjikyu. The ball was about to collide with Naruto when the space in front of him started swirling. True enough, the incoming fire ball started to be absorbed into Naruto's right eye. It only took fractions of seconds until the shining fire ball of destruction disappeared right in front of his eyes, literally. Kamui, Naruto said, and using his left eye he focused on the location of Kakuzu's original body. The space around Kakuzu started distorting and from it came the shining ball of fire that the masks had previously unlashed upon Naruto. Kakuzu had no time to dodge as the fire ball suddenly appeared right next to him. The ball collided with Kakuzu and his whole body erupted in a tornado of flames. Naruto had to block his view from the tornado due to the intense light and heat being generated. The tornado died down and Naruto, still aware of the other masks, looked to Kakuzu's body, who seemed to be nothing more than ashes on the ground. Naruto couldn't find the mask and assumed that it was vaporized with his attack. Suddenly the red mask flew towards the pile of ash and dived inside of it. Slowly but surely, Kakuzu seemed to be rising from the ashes untouched. Seconds later Kakuzu was standing like nothing had ever happened. The brat really is dangerous, Kakuzu thought as Naruto had already destroyed 3 of his 5 hearths. Even if my power is limited, I have a feeling that he's not serious either, Kakuzu thought, looking at Naruto, who was staring at him impassively. The brat did really look like Uchiha Madara. Kakuzu, being very old, had obviously met up with Uchiha Madara back in the old days. Although Kakuzu never fought him, he knew very well that Madara was an enemy not to underestimate, and was said that only Senju Hashirama could match his power. And both of them were on a level that was so far out of reach of ordinary shinobi that they were considered gods among humans. And now, Kakuzu had the man's grandson standing in front of him, staring at him impassively, and without a flinch. There was no doubt about Naruto's heritage, his battle fan, his hairstyle, and the power behind those eyes was far too great to be discarded as nothing more than bull. You give a whole new meaning to rise from the ashes, Naruto said and jumped to the side to avoid a wind blade sent from the light blue mask. 2 masks to go, Naruto said, smirking, and Kakuzu's eyes widened. So you figured it out? Kakuzu asked, and Naruto nodded. Yes. You seem to be linked deeply to each of the masks you carry. Judging from the number of critical hits I landed, you should be dead 3 times already, and yet you aren't. However, each time I killed you, in fact I destroyed one of your masks. Logic states that once they are all gone, you die, Naruto explained, and Kakuzu nodded. Impressive observation. It's very true. I steal the hearts of powerful shinobi I defeat in combat. By doing so, I can extend my natural lifespan. I'm more than 100 years old and I once fought the Shodaime Hokage, Kakuzu explained, and Naruto was shocked. Kakuzu was over 100 years old. That means he still fought in the clan wars before the village system was set up. Naruto guessed that Kakuzu had eventually joined Taki during his life only to later defect. If Kakuzu had indeed fought against his great-grandfather, it means that fighting Kakuzu was a family business, so to speak. And now, Naruto was going to finish his gramps' work. This is it, Naruto said before slapping his hands together as if praying. Kakuzu sent the light blue mask to interrupt him, but Naruto easily dodged the attack, still with his hands in the same position. Senpu, Naruto started, and green marks started appearing on his face. The marks formed a loop around his eyes going into his cheeks, and they had 2 concentric circles on his forehead. Naruto's Sharingan eyes seemed to start glowing even more than usual. His eyes felt like they were radiating power. Is he going to Kakuzu was thinking but didn't manage to finish as Naruto's next words made him forget everything. Mokuton Hijutsu, Naruto said as he did the snake hand seal and the ground started shaking. Naruto looked towards Kakuzu who was panicking and running through hand seals as well. Katon Zukaku, Cranium Carver, Kakuzu said and fired a torrent of fire towards Naruto of had just finished his jutsu. Jukai Koten, Nativity of World Trees. Naruto shouted and flexed his arms forward making trees burst from the ground. Hundreds upon hundreds of trees suddenly popped from the ground and started heading towards Kakuzu destroying everything in their path. The torrent of fire clashed with his wood barrage but did nothing as the trees easily dissipated the fire. The trees didn't stop or waver at their obstacles and easily reached Kakuzu who had started evasive maneuvers. The light blue mask was firing wind blades and bombs trying to destroy the onslaught of Naruto's wood attack but nothing seemed to work. If they destroyed one tree, two more would grow from the ground. Kakuzu jumped in the air to avoid the major attack and started maneuvering to avoid being caught, but it was only a matter of time. One tree came from behind and wrapped itself around his left ankle, flinging him into another set of trees. In the end, Kakuzu was trapped with trees wrapped around their legs and other ones wrapped around his arms. Kakuzu felt pain. This pain was coming from his chest. He looked down only to see a chunk of wood piercing his chest right through his heart. He gave short, shallow breath as he looked one final time into Naruto's eyes who seemed to pulse and start spinning. Once the spinning stopped, Kakuzu looked down and instead of a piece of wood it was nothing more than Naruto's sword. Kakuzu looked around and everywhere the trees started to shimmer and simply fade away as if it was nothing more than a dream. He looked over to his other mask and saw it snared to the ground with Naruto's golden chains. The light blue mask had his mouth pointed into the air so, any jutsu it fired, it would miss. Kakuzu saw everything disappearing and was confused. What eye is this? Kakuzu asked to Naruto who was behind him with his hands grasping his sword. You are over 100 years old and yet you forgot one simple detail, Naruto said and made his around Kakuzu standing in front of him. Naruto locked eyes with him and simply said, Never look into the eyes of an Uchiha. Kakuzu's eyes widened in realization. Everything that had happened since the time Naruto started to gather chakra in that strange hand seal was a genjutsu. Naruto had played with Kakuzu's experience in battling the Shodaime to make him believe that Naruto possessed the Mokuton. Naruto had used that as a distraction to permanently end the battle. Amaterasu, Naruto said, and the light blue mask erupted in black flames and completely disintegrated it. Naruto turned to Kakuzu who, by the looks of it, had just a few more seconds to live. This brat will be trouble in the future, Kakuzu thought just before Naruto removed his sword from his back and Kakuzu fell to the ground, face first, limp. With all of the 5 masks destroyed, Kakuzu had ran out of hearts, and was finally in the afterlife. Even though Naruto had won a long battle, he felt something strange with it. All of the Akatsuki members were supposed to be really powerful, and yet this one fell for a simple genjutsu. His battle had been pretty straightforward. Naruto wasn't saying he wasn't powerful, but he felt that Akatsuki standards seemed to be higher. True to Naruto's thoughts, the body at Naruto's feet started to spasm. Naruto jumped away thinking it might be some end-of-the-line suicidal jutsu. Once the body stopped shaking, Naruto approached it cautiously. He would never know just what kind of tricks they may have under their belts. Or cloaks for that matter. Naruto looked closely at the body and his appearance was completely different from Kakuzu. This someone standing dead in front of him was definitely not Kakuzu. This person was about Kakuzu's height but seemed like a regular Joe. He had brown hair and his eyes were completely white. He seems to be nothing more than a sacrifice like the others, Naruto thought as he realized something. If he's nothing more than a sacrifice, he was a diversion, shit. Naruto realized as he focused on Hinata's Hiraishin marker and vanished away in a yellow flash. With Kenshin, Hinata and Shikamaru, Kenshin, Hinata, Sora and Shikamaru were inside the sealed iron walls. According to Chiriku, it was the safest place in all of the Fire Temple. Only someone who knew the correct hand seal sequence and had the right chakra signature could unlock the doors that led into this area of the temple. Do you think Naruto will be alright? Kenshin asked, slightly afraid for Naruto. He had started to grow fond of the fellow shinobi. Kenshin knew that Naruto was strong, but there were many shinobi around the world and there was bound to be someone more powerful. He will be alright, don't worry, Hinata replied, but that didn't seem to ease Kenshin's worries. What makes you so sure? Kenshin asked, surprised to see so much faith placed on Naruto. Because he never gives up and he never surrenders. It's his Nindo, his shinobi way, Hinata softly replied. If that doesn't put at ease, maybe this will, Hinata said and threw Kenshin a copy of the updated bingo book. Page 112. Hinata said and Kenshin quickly flipped to it. Konoha no Raijin. S rank. Uchiha Madara. Senju Hashirama. Namikaze Minato. Kenshin had his eyes widened at what he found about Naruto. He was related to the most powerful shinobi to ever live, and, if his rank was anything to measure by, he was indeed very powerful. Suddenly they heard the sealed door unlock and everyone took fighting stances in front of Kenshin. It might be an enemy or it might not be, but it was best to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. The door opened and Chirika entered the room with a heavily injured Sasuke on his back, barely conscious. What happened? Kenshin asked. He had never seen a shinobi in such bad shape, and he had already seen the 12 shinobi guardians in bad shape. He was defeated, but me and Naruto arrived in time to rescue him, Chiriku explained and gently placed Sasuke on the ground. Naruto mentioned you were a medic, Chirika said towards Hinata. I'm training to be one. Let's see what I can do, Hinata said and activated her Byakugan. Sasuke's injuries were extensive. I can patch him up, but he will need to rest a couple of days, Hinata said and started the mystical palm technique to reset the ribs in place and heal other wounds. Hinata walked towards Sasuke's legs and picked his ankle. With a sickening twisted, she reset the ankle to its proper place and used the mystical palm once again. It's done. He will need to rest his body for a couple of days now, Hinata explained and Chiriku nodded. They all started a bit at ease when Hinata, Shikamaru, Chiriku and Sora felt a presence enter the room. They turned around to see someone standing in the middle of the room. He had a black cloak with red clouds, but the most interesting fact was that he was wearing an orange mask with a swirl pattern. Everyone took defensive stances in front of Kenshin as they didn't know what was this shinobi's target. Hinata took a peek into his chakra levels and they were on par with Naruto's levels, and that was saying something. Be careful. His chakra levels are on par with lower level Bijus, Hinata said, and everyone gulped at the new enemy. Looks like Kakuzu already completed his primary objective, Tobi thought, looking at the injured form of Sasuke who was on the ground unconscious. Who are you and what do you want? Hinata asked, not for once looking away from this new enemy. Tobi. I'm Tobi, so you can call me Tobi, Tobi said in a childish voice, but Hinata could clearly see the chakra build up in his throat, meaning that this wasn't his real voice. You aren't fooling anyone with that voice, Hinata stated, and Tobi's posture changed. You know? Tobi started. Your eyes aren't half bad, Tobi said, chuckling. What do you want? Hinata stressed out, ignoring his eyes' comment. You can say that I'm just looking for a piece of the puzzle, Tobi cryptically said. Meaning? Hinata continued, but Tobi stayed silent. Hand over the pseudo Jinchuriki and I'll take my leave, Tobi said, pointing towards Sora. I see, Hinata started. You can't come for Naruto-kun as he's too powerful for you, so you come after the weaker version, Hinata deduced, and Tobi chuckled. Don't kid yourself, girl. Your boyfriend may be strong, but he's no match against someone like me. And by weaker version, he's just a backup, Tobi said, laughing. What makes you so sure? Hinata asked, still with her Byakugan blazing. Tobi activated his Sharingan for Hinata to see, who had her eyes widened. He's an Uchiha, Hinata said, and everyone gasped. There was only supposed to be 3 Uchihas alive, and those were Naruto, Sasuke, and Itachi. Who are you? Hinata asked suspiciously. Madara. Uchiha Madara, Tobi said with his Sharingan spinning. Everyone was shocked to see that the legendary Uchiha warrior was still alive. Well, everyone but Hinata. Bullshit, Hinata said, and Tobi looked carefully at her. Naruto told me that his grandfather was dead, so you are not him, Hinata explained. What makes you so sure? Tobi asked, flooding the room with Ki. Kenshin was on the floor while the rest of the shinobi were breathing heavily, with only Hinata and Chirika being able to match it. No matter. I'm taking what I want, Tobi said, and dashed towards Sora to capture it. Shikamaru-san, Sora-kun, take care of yourselves and protect Kenshin-sama. We will take care of him, Chirika said, and both he and Hinata took defensive stances against the incoming Akatsuki Nin. Hinata was in her standard Juken stance, and Chiriku had his right hand lowered with the palm pointing to the ground, while his left one was in front of his chest. Reigo, Senjusatsu, welcoming approach, thousand-armed murder, Chiriku said, and his forehead seemed to constrict. Suddenly, semi-transparent arms seemed to form midair and start going towards Tobi. Hinata, using her Byakugan, saw Toby mold chakra in a way that she remembered it from somewhere. As the arms were about to connect with Toby, they simply phased through them. Hinata's eyes widened in realization of the technique Toby was using. She took a closer look at Toby's eyes, and they weren't the standard Sharingan, but a complete different form. Toby's eyes had shifted into a Manjikyu Sharingan, and he seemed to using Naruto's Kamui technique. Toby's Manjikyu was blood red with what seemed to be two triple-wheeled patterns overlapping each other. How is he doing this? Chirika asked, shocked that his attacks were ineffective. He had never seen such technique. His technique was passing right through the enemy without any obstruction. Toby was nothing more than a ghost at this point. It's a special technique he uses with his Manjikyu Sharingan called Kamui. He's able to dematerialize his body, and thus allow any attacks to simply pass through him as if he was a ghost or an illusion. Hinata explained, and Toby nodded. That was the simplest description he could come up with. How do you know that? Chiriku asked, not losing focus as he kept his punching barrage. Because Naruto-kun can use it as well, Hinata said, and went into thinking mode. Is he really Madara? He can use the same technique as Naruto-kun. Hinata thought, wondering if Naruto was mistaken regarding his grandfather. So what do we do? Chirika asked. There is nothing we can do. He cannot remain intangible indefinitely, as there is a time limit at which he can maintain the technique active. However, neither of us are fast enough to capitalize at the moment in which he materializes. Hinata explained, frowning. Naruto had explained her how his technique worked, and there weren't many flaws. Kamui was almost a perfect technique, and a very powerful one at that. So what can we do? Chirika asked as he dropped his attack. The concentration necessary to maintain the attack was too great, and he could only do it for a couple of minutes at max. Stall until Naruto-kun arrives, Hinata simply said, and turned to Shikamaru. Use your shadow to help us, Hinata said, and Shikamaru nodded, crouching on the ground. Shikamaru started to expand his shadow to try and capture Toby. Of course, Toby wouldn't be caught in such weak technique, but it provided Hinata and Chiriku a much-needed help in distracting the enemy. Toby arrived near Hinata and Chiriku, and they all engaged in taijutsu. Hinata kept a very close eye on Toby's chakra network so she could try and hit him when he became tangible. Hinata back-flipped away and looked towards the taijutsu battle between Chiriku and Toby. Chiriku dashed forward and tried to punch in the chest, only to slip by him and stumble forward. Now, Hinata thought as Toby was about to punch Chiriku in his back. Hakushu air palm, Hinata said, and sent a wave of compressed air filled with chakra towards Toby. The wave arrived near him and passed right through him and nearly hitting Chiriku, who was on the other side. This is going to be hard, Hinata thought as she rushed Toby to give time for Chiriku to recover. Hinata went for a juken strike to his chest and phased through him. Toby turned around only to see Hinata start to spin. Kaiten, Hinata said, and was enveloped in a blue dome of chakra. Toby noticed it, and used his Kamui to avoid the Kaiten and jumped back. As Toby was about to land, he noticed Shikamaru's shadow was closing in at a very fast pace. Toby simply warped away completely, and reappeared on the other side of the room. Hinata and Chiriku recovered and dashed once again towards Toby, who remained in place seeing them coming. Toby took advantage that they were on the other side of the room and quickly warped away and reappeared next to Shikamaru. Shikamaru disabled his shadow technique and engaged him in taijutsu. Even he knew that this was a lost battle. Toby phased through a sloppy punch, and, once behind Shikamaru, he delivered a quick chop to his neck and kicked him in the back, sending him flying into a nearby wall unconscious. Toby was going to approach Sora when Hinata and Chiriku managed to arrive near them and engage him in taijutsu. Toby used his Kamui and easily outmaneuvered all of them and sent them into the ground with well-located kicks and punches. Kamui was such a useful technique that all he needed was that and taijutsu, and he was able to deal with even the most difficult adversary. Mokutan, Sashiki no Jutsu, cutting technique, Toby said, and from the solid concrete floor sprouted several pieces of wood in the shape of spears. Toby grabbed all of them and sent them towards Hinata and Chiriku, who were getting up. Chiriku got grazed by one spear in his shoulder before Hinata could set up a Kaiten. Since Hinata and Chiriku were busy blocking the wooden projectiles, Toby calmly walked towards Sora and Kenshin, who were scared. To Sora, this enemy shinobi was decimating his sensei, who was the most powerful monk in the whole fire temple. To Kenshin, he was scared because he never saw such a powerful shinobi who could take on 4 enemies at once and defeat them like nothing. But then again, if he really was Uchiha Madara, then there was nothing they could do. Let's just do this here, Toby thought as he arrived near Sora and Kenshin. Look at me, Toby said, grabbing Sora by his clothes and forcing him to make eye contact. Sora's pupil dilated and he gave a shallow breath before his head fell down. Once Sora raised his head, his eyes were no blood red with vertical black slits. His right hand became beastly in appearance, as it was completely red with large claws. Toby dropped Sora to the ground and looked towards Kenshin, who was on the verge of heart attack. Toby noticed something off with his hands. He raised Kenshin by his collar and looked at his hands to notice that, in his palms, there were 2 diamonds marks overlapping each other. The Maton bloodline, excellent. This will speed things up, Toby thought before he focused on Kenshin. Toby's eyes glowed momentarily before he looked directly into Kenshin's eyes. After a couple of seconds, Kenshin's eyes widened and his face became one of emotionless with nothing but a blank look and dead eyes. You know what to do, Toby said, and Kenshin simply walked towards Sora like a zombie. Toby turned towards Hinata and Chiriku, who were running towards him at full speed, trying to stop whatever Toby was forcing Kenshin to do. Mokutan, underground roots, Toby said, and wooden roots bursted from the ground, pinning Sora. Sora was unleashing more and more Kyuubi's chakra, but the wood technique seemed to be able to keep Sora in place. Toby threw a scroll at Kenshin, who caught it, and kneeled next to Sora. Kenshin placed his right hand on Sora and his left hand on the scroll. Meitun Kyuketsuko, dark release, inhaling Ma, Kenshin said, and started absorbing the Kyuubi's chakra from Sora and funneling it into a scroll. What did you do to them? Hinata asked, panting and sweating. They were trying their best, but nothing seemed to work. And now, with Shikamaru unconscious, there wasn't nothing they could do but to see what Toby had planned. Nothing you need to be concerned about, Toby said, walking towards them who were trapped with wooden roots. Hinata had tried to release wind blades from her chakra points, but the wood was too strong for such small attack. With one large roar, Sora unleashed the rest of the Kyuubi's chakra and was left on the ground unconscious and with his skin blood red. Unleashing all of the chakra he had inside of him burned most of his outer skin. Kenshin finalized the technique and fell to the ground, also unconscious. Toby approached them and picked the scroll and warping it into his dimension. And finally, to deal with the witnesses, Toby said, and turned to Hinata and Chiriku, who knew what was coming. Toby took out a kunai and walked towards them. Toby was about to kill them both when he was almost blinded by a bright yellow flash. Naruto appeared in a yellow flash with a Raikiri already sparkling in his hand. Naruto tried to stab Toby only to slip through him. This is my Kamui technique, Naruto thought with his eyes widened. Naruto had completely slipped by him when Toby turned around to stab Naruto in the back, only to also slip through Naruto. They both jumped away from each other, staring at one another. Naruto quickly took multiple shurikens and, infusing them with right-un chakra, threw them into the wooden roots, freeing Hinata and Chiriku, who took their side. Sharingan and Mokutan, Naruto said with his eyes widened. Who are you? Naruto asked with his Manjikyu blazing. What is it with people asking masked men who they are? Toby rhetorically asked, sighing. He says he's Uchiha Madara, Hinata said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow in confusion. Naruto placed his hands in the ram seal, making Toby wonder what he was doing. Naruto focused on Toby and started sensing chakra. You're not Gramps, Naruto said, chuckling, but Kurama had a much different expression when his host sensed Toby's chakra. What makes you say that? Toby asked, surprised by yet again someone stating that he isn't Uchiha Madara. Your chakra is nowhere like mine, Naruto simply said. You are half Senju, Toby replied. True, Naruto agreed. However, look at me. I have blonde hair and blue eyes, which means my father's genes are dominant. Which would mean that my chakra is similar to that of my father and grandfather for that matter, Naruto explained, and Toby scoffed to himself. This whole persona of him being Uchiha Madara was going down the drain. So, Naruto started. Who exactly are you? Naruto asked. I sense Senju chakra in you, but you are clearly an Uchiha, Naruto stated, observing him carefully. Naruto, Kurama called out, and Naruto focused on his partner. He's the one. He was the one who removed me from your mother and controlled me into attacking Konoha, Kurama explained, and Naruto's chakra spiked. The man in front of him was the reason why he had a crappy life, and why his parents were dead. Killing intent flooded the whole room. Even though the Ki wasn't directed towards Hinata and Chiriku, they were both gasping for air. That's some power you have there, Toby said as a bead of sweat rolled down his face, not that Naruto could see it. You were the one responsible for my parents' death. Naruto yelled, powering his Ki with the Kyuubi's chakra. I'm going to kill you! Naruto shouted and powered his Chidori Nagashi and dashed towards Tobi with swirling chakra in his right hand. Naruto appeared next to Tobi and immediately flashed behind his back and tried slamming a Rasengan through Tobi, only to phase trough him and use it on the ground, making a large crater. He's fast, Tobi thought. And nearly got me. I've got to stop underestimating the brat. Tobi instantly pulled two kunais and threw them as hard as he could towards the unconscious forms of Kenshin and Sora. Naruto's eyes widened when he saw it. The kunais were moving at high speeds and would most likely kill them both. Naruto wouldn't be able to get there in time, and neither Hinata or Chiriku were fast enough. I have to do something, Naruto thought, and considered using his long-range Kamui, but the kunais were going too fast, and he wouldn't be able to teleport them, and they were just out of reach of his Hiraishin markers. Naruto's eyes glowed and his chakra spiked. The strangest thing happened. Time seemed to freeze. Naruto looked around and everything had stopped. Tobi still had his arms in the throwing motion, and his kunais were still midair but frozen in the same place, as if there was no gravity. He looked towards Hinata and Chiriku, who had running motions and concerned expressions on their faces. Kuranosu, time god! Naruto subconsciously said, and his eyes pulsed just before they started spinning in counterclockwise. Naruto was watching as everything was playing itself backwards in slow motion. The kunais were flying backwards into Tobi's hands, Hinata and Chiriku were running backwards, and even Naruto himself felt being pulled back, even against his own actions. After everything rolled back, Naruto was on top of Tobi's body with his Rasengan in his hand, about to slam it into Tobi again. Naruto's eyes pulsed once again and everything resumed. Naruto phased right through Tobi and smashed his Rasengan into the ground. Naruto didn't know what happened, but he wasn't going to take any chances and immediately threw Hiraishin kunais at the exact same time as Tobi did, intercepting them. How did he know I was going to do that? Tobi wondered in thought. Tobi jumped back to gain some distance and started observing Naruto, who had shock splashed across his face. Kurama, what the hell happened? Naruto asked his partner, who was speechless. I think you rolled back time, Kurama replied, and Naruto's jaw dropped. Just what kind of power his eyes had. Although, it did made sense, as Naruto was able to see what would happen, and then it happened exactly as it was supposed to happen, so Naruto either rolled back time, or he took a peek into the future. Naruto-kun, what's wrong? Hinata asked, snapping Naruto out of his thoughts. I think I might have unlocked another Manjikyu ability, Naruto said, still in disbelief of what he had done. He had done something that was unheard of. Naruto didn't travel back in time, and no, he forced time to roll itself back. Really? Hinata asked, surprised, and Naruto slowly nodded. What does it do? Hinata asked. I'll tell you later. Now we have a worm to deal with, Naruto said, locking eyes with Tobi. Amaterasu is useless, as is the Tsukuyami, and this new power, I don't know how to control it, Naruto thought. I'm at a disadvantage and I already have what I wanted, Tobi thought to himself and turned to Naruto. Until we meet again, Tobi said, and warped away, leaving no trace of him. He's gone, Naruto said, and sat down thinking about everything that happened. How is everyone? Naruto asked. Shikamaru, Kenshin and Sora are unconscious. Me and Chiriku are just tired with a couple of bruises. About Sasuke, I did reset his bones to their proper locations, but he still needs to rest, Hinata explained, and Naruto nodded. Good, Naruto said, happy that everyone was alive. Let's clean this mess up, Naruto said, but Hinata interrupted him. You should know that Sora no longer has the Kyuubi's chakra in him, Hinata said, and Naruto was surprised. What happened? Naruto asked, and Hinata informed him of what happened. How this Tobi character had controlled Kenshin into removing the Kyuubi's chakra from Sora and sealing it into a scroll that Tobi took. I guess in the end everything worked out for the best, Naruto said, and everyone went to collect their friend to take them to the infirmary to heal up. 2 days later, in the last 2 days, everyone had recovered from their injuries, including Sasuke, who, somehow, seemed to brood even more and throw himself into training even harder than usual. Chiriku and the rest of the monks had finished the cleanup and had already reconstructed the destroyed gates. During these 2 days the fire daimyo and his protection had arrived, and he was shocked to know of what had happened. He thanked Naruto and his team for helping defend the fire temple and keeping his grandson safe. The Fire Daimyo had even asked Naruto if he would like to join the 12 Shinobi Guardians. Naruto had politely refused, saying that he had a group of criminals after the Kyuubi, and that it would place the Fire Daimyo in even more danger than he already was. Everyone from Naruto's team was gathered up at the gate ready to leave. "Give my regards to Asuma," Chirika said, and Shikamaru nodded. "Next time we meet I want to spar with you," Kenshin said towards Naruto, who chuckled and nodded in acceptance. "You are a new man, Sora," Naruto said towards the overjoyed Sora, who was happy that this malefic chakra was gone. "I know," Sora replied and shook Naruto's hand. "See you all," Naruto said, and they all left the fire temple heading back to Konoha. Naruto looked to Sasuke, who was scowling at something. "You are all right, Sasuke?" Naruto asked. "Mind your own business, Senju," Sasuke replied, and Naruto flinched at his tone but left him alone. How? How can I be so weak? He destroyed me in minutes and Naruto was able to defeat him." Sasuke thought, seething. He had to gain power and fast. "I don't feel like walking," Naruto said, and without warning anyone he pulled them all into a hug and Hiroshined back to Konoha. Hokage's officer Tsunade was having a normal day. She had a pen in one hand, a bottle of sake on the other, and a stack of papers in front. Just another normal day for the busty Hokage. Tsunade was signing a piece of paper when she saw a bright yellow flash. She placed that paper back on the desk and saw Naruto standing there smiling at her while the rest of the team was on the ground seeing stars. "Mission accomplished, Ba-chan," Naruto said, and Tsunade motioned for him to report. She was shocked to find what had happened in the Fire Temple. "Akatsuki is getting bolder to unleash a direct attack at the Fire Temple," Tsunade mused out loud. "And even worse, that Tobi fellow," Tsunade said. According to the Kyuubi, Tobi was the one responsible for the attack 14 years ago. "I will look into this when Jiraiya is back in town," Tsunade said and turned to his team. "Good job. You are dismissed," Tsunade said, and everyone left the office and headed into their homes. "Want to eat something?" Hinata said, grabbing Naruto by his arm and resting her head on his shoulder. "Why not?" Naruto said, shrugging. "Ichiraku's ramen, here we go," Naruto yelled, and Hinata giggled.